Welcome to another episode of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back. Another great edition of the Nick and CJ Show. And that was a very fascinating clip. And this is why we're here to break down and explain structural racism and the legacy that it still leaves to this day. What you see in those videos and what you see us in the Black community, Indigenous people, Latino people go through. This is why I don't have it in me to waste any of my time, spend any of my energy having Putin derangement syndrome, G derangement syndrome. I know who my enemy is. And going off that video, I actually have something I want to show you to start off.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it.
And I'm so glad this study was done. And this shows why RBN was needed to have a group of young Black leftists, Marxists, socialists, anti-capitalists explain the wrongs in our society. And we do it based on material. So I would tell people that if you vote for Jim Crow Joe, you vote for literally one of the most racist politicians in the modern era. When I say this, it shocks people. I got thousands of blocks. I got so many blocks on Twitter because I'm calling people out, exposing their cognitive dissonance. You guys voting for Joe Biden. Feel free to interrupt and vote for the crime bill, who implemented extreme anti-Black policies when it comes to Haitians, Cubans. He bombed in Africa. He propped up Wall Street that stole Black wealth. But white liberals vote for this guy. They still believe the Democratic Party is the anti-racist party. Now, RBN, we've been a shock to their systems, even to white leftists. Why am I? You're just as complicit by voting for Joe Biden. This is what made a lot of Bernie people uncomfortable with me, CJ. A lot of these TYT folks, they used to follow me. Ben Dixon, Tim Black, they also used to be cool with me. Then I'm like, you are Uncle Tom. You are a sellout if you vote for Joe Biden. I got something I'm going to share, but go ahead, CJ. You can chime in real quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say off of what you're saying, do you think they're blocking you because a hit dog will holler? Or do you think they're blocking you because you're just completely wrong? Like, are you blocking people who post the sky's yellow? Are you just gonna be like, oh, okay, and just move on? They're blocking you because you're hitting too close to home. You get what I'm saying? They don't want to see real shit. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to see truth about the people you're saying is great.
Praising the United States. Yeah, someone was praising Joe Biden, praising capitalism. I don't block them. I was like, oh, this is just a dumbass who's wrong. When I say these stuff, and especially the amount of white liberals who block me, and the Kasparian were real quick to block me, for example. David Cole, Mike Figueredo. These people were super quick to block me because while they were explaining their incremental ideology, I was saying, no, you're enabling white supremacy. And you want to see how these leftists talk about racism, and that's enough for them. As long as they're liberals that are just nice to Black people, tolerate our presence, that's okay. Now, I think that's a preface enough. I didn't share this with you because I want to get your reaction. This came out, at least this article in Yahoo came out 3 days ago, where, you know how Yahoo is. God damn it, let me go back. Here it is.
Yeah.
Very interesting study that also explains RBN's politics and why we differ from all these lazy progressive media outlets. Look at this headline. Black people and the rest of the nation differ on what kind of racism harms Black America more. Love this. Most Black Americans focus on structure. The rest of the country sees it a bit differently. So Black people like us, RBN, we're out here alone, right? Black people say structural racism is worse for them. Other groups are more focused on the attention-grabbing viral Karen moments, according to a study. I'm gonna dive into this a little more, but so essentially what they're saying is, us on RBN, we're saying you are racist if you vote for Jim Crow Joe, or you're weak on white supremacy at best if you vote for these Zionist, pro-pop, malicious actors that destroy our community with their policies. Meanwhile, white liberals, hell, everyone is like, oh, all I gotta do is just be nicer to Black people. And we're done with racism.
I give to the Negro Fund. I give to the Negro Fund, and I donate to one of those Somali kids. So I'm good. These things, Nick, are literally set up to reward white people to mask what they're doing, what they know is gone. These sorts of things. Oh, I gave to this. Oh, I gave to that. They literally believe that giving paper does something that their feet can't do. You get what I'm saying? Like, they have no idea that just giving money is not at all activism.
Yeah, it's the structural change. Remember the story, the article that we covered maybe 2 weeks ago, where you had the corporate media stretching, one of the people stretching what the Biden administration did for black people. And when they were listing what they did for black people, they like he appointed record amount of black judges. He got Ketanji Brown Jackson in the White House. He pardoned Brittany Griner, a basketball player. Shouldn't you, as the black community, be happy about these things? You gotta see how it's always.
How do people fall in that that's something for black people? Like, how do people fall in that that's something for black people? You understand how white supremacy that is? Now follow me. Because you have to be saying, look, I gave you this, and this one person, us even sacrificing one space for you niggas, that's for y'all. That one person, that's for all of y'all niggas. How is that not saying that, Nick? That's you. That is you saying white supremacy exists. It so exists that we're even giving it to this one nigga. Look at this.
Yeah.
And this is like, we should celebrate because white supremacy has let this one nigga get here.
And the implication that comes from capitalists is, if Ketanji Brown Jackson can make it, why not you? Stop complaining. Work hard, study hard, and become a Ketanji Brown Jackson. You gotta just sell out your community. Why are you guys fronting? Like let me read a little bit more of this, because this is extremely interesting. Because this article, when I was reading this, I was like, this in a nutshell explains the white left. Explains why RBN has been alone on this island. And then I know you probably still too. Every once in a while, you have someone like, man, I really wish y'all gotta start talking about race issues, right? Ignoring the fact that black people lose their wealth because of our racist institutional system. White America hates addressing this so bad, they literally revert to book burning. They literally banning critical race theory because they're afraid that little Timmy is gonna read one of these books and he's gonna figure out what Grandpa and them did.
Nick, I'm telling you, Nick, wealth came from. And in 100, 200 years, whenever it is, when you know how we study history and we look like, wow, why did that and this and that? They're gonna be looking back at this time like, white people was stupid and a motherfucker. What are they burning books for? Like, and white people at that time are gonna be saying that, like, what? They're gonna be looking at it that way. Go ahead.
And it's that's normal from the majority of the white population. I'm saying that because I'm talking about the conservatives here. That's majority of white people vote conservative. Despite the narrative, 55% of white women vote for Trump. Women stood up to Trump. No, boo-boo. Black women and Latinos stood up to Trump. White women all love that shit. So in order to keep their illusion, their facade of their grand moral society, I'm gonna show you guys this unhinged tweet from Ursula von der Leyen, one of my favorite people to call out in NATO, where she was like, Europe is uniquely special. We never go to war with people. We always get along. It's like, what kind of revisionism is this? White people do this shit, so that's why they gotta ban books. They got banned, literally authors just talking about race. And then Ron DeSantis and them say, the Ben Shapiro crowd, they would say, oh my God, liberals are crybabies. It facts over your feelings. Meanwhile, they got banned historical, accurate information about their country because it will make their kids hate their country more. It will make it harder for you to brainwash them if you guys know the truth, know exactly what you guys did to black and brown indigenous people. So let me share this because this adds to the point we are making, because we literally just scratched the surface of this article and why I believe we needed an RBN. This is why we started this, CJ. Even if we wasn't successful, my thought was, why is there not a black left network that can focus on these things that I don't see white leftists? I don't see any progressive focus on this stuff. People apologize for defund the police. Kyle Kalinske saying that's a bad slogan. These people just weak on policy. So let's continue.
Think about it. Think about it, Nick. Think about it. I want people to visualize what you just said, the last couple of sentences you just said. Everybody, we're progressives. It's 2016 Bernie or 2015 Bernie campaign. And we go, okay, we're united. So let me go and find somebody So we got TYT and all of their offspring. Then we got Majority Report, which is also all of their offspring, and Majority Report has offspring. And then you have people like David Doe that is like sort of connected, and Humanist Report. You tell me, what are those people gonna say that affects us?
Nothing.
What? Like, what can they say? What have they been saying? But they've been advocating that they're the working people.
Remember
you
what they
see
said?
why it's so. You see why it's so important that RBN is here. RBN before RBN. Oh, Davis Arota. Let's give him a crown. Jordan Sheraton. He's the best in the world. Marion Williamson. She's up next to be dominated before RBN. Who was saying like this is some fucking nonsense? Are you crazy?
Meanwhile, before RBN, this statement would have been passed off as a fact. When you had the Smurfs, you had the Humanist Report, Rational National, where it was like, AOC, she didn't do anything that was a cancelable offense. And then a bunch of white guys on the panel, like, yeah, she didn't do anything. Meanwhile, these people are voting for military budget increases. The squad voted for, they denied having an inquiry, oversight over the FBI and CIA. They was complicit in funding the Capitol Police more, funding the Iron Dome. So now do you guys wonder why the squad didn't do anything that's a cancelable offense to David Doe and a guy that surfs or whatever? Because it doesn't affect them. And for years, you had these privileged white dudes that killed radical thought, that was extremely weak on black issues. They're like, the Democrats, come on, man, why you gotta be? Yeah, I know they suck, but they're not cancelable, despite what they're doing. Let me continue the article because so many good things are said, and this kind of highlights why our mission is so important here. So as I was saying in the beginning of the article, it said while most Black Americans focus on structural issues, the rest of the country sees it a bit different. Black people say the structural racism is worse for them. Other groups focus on the Karens and like attention-grabbing racist moments, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is horrific! You see this one racist guy? You see what Jim Bob said?" They ignore the fact that their grandpa got a business that exploiting the shit out of black labor. They don't give a fuck about none of that. Their dad is a cop who beat the shit out of black people every goddamn year. They don't care about that
because they
video of some guy saying some racist shit, and now they're outraged.
But no, but you understand, Nick, that is conditioning. It's so blatantly obvious to anyone outside of the country. It's like, how the hell is the United States gonna teach or learn anything about what racism is? Who told them? Who taught them about this? You get what I'm saying? Like it's such an unbelievable thing to be like America or the United States has any standing to talk about what is and what it's not racism, and also their white culture population, which by the vast majority have been propagandized. So don't think I'm saying white people are innately sort of racist. We're saying the capitalists here, in order to keep white workers separated from black workers and a lot of other things, like initially, let me just give a short little history lesson. So initially, it was no white, the invention of white, right? White people, what we know as white people, these groups all didn't like each other. Religion was how people grouped together instead of race. But then they got here, and it was like all these black Africans physically, think of the NFL, Nick. All these black Africans all trying to get away. They don't tell the stories of all the people that was trying to get away, fights, poisonings. So they deputized the whole population to be racist. You understand? Right. All of y'all, so that we don't have these slave uprisings. All of y'all are responsible. That is what brought these groups together to form what we now know as whiteness.
Absolutely.
It was all in an effort of fear of enslaved Africans on this continent. I'm speaking about.
That's such an important point to make. And now I'm gonna continue this article because this is where we left off. Around 65% of adults in America find that individual racist actions against black people are a bigger problem than any extensive discriminatory laws and institutions. Mm-hmm. How does this make sense at face value? I am asking
just from the sentence. Just from the sentence, how does it make sense?
How does that make sense? How does that make sense? I'll read it again. 65% of adults in America find that individual racist actions against Black Americans are a bigger problem than any extensive discriminatory laws and institutions.
You
And
know
that
what that's
includes
saying?
white, Asian, and Hispanic adults. That
That's
makes no
saying
fucking
they don't
sense.
think the laws, they don't think police are racist.
Yes.
That shooting that Black person in the back, that was deserved. Shooting that, shoot, like they don't see these acts. They don't see dropping bombs in supporting Saudi Arabia and what's in the atrocities that's happening in Yemen. They don't see that as that is just military. That's we're keeping us safe.
Foreign policy.
Yeah, that's it. The enslaved Africans, and then the videos that we play, the historical videos, and they're like, yeah, I think they have equal rights, but as long as they stay violent, like at that time, Nick, white people thought it was equal at that time. As they're hosing down marches, as they're sicking dogs, they're like, what is the problem here? Like, this is all equal. So there never is a self-reflection at the time. It's always after, because white people are fine with saying, oh yeah, those times was racist. They're fine with saying the past. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep
no, perfect. No, that's perfect. Because they were like, oh, we used to be racist. They look at our system now. Oh, it's perfectly okay. Like, I don't understand this brain rot. And I'm speaking literally just from personal experience, not from anyone else except for me. Because this is how I lived and survived in Missouri, where there's been Klan sightings. Literally,
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine, man. I can't even imagine living in Missouri. I can't. Not like your experience with white people. I can definitely say has been different than my experience with white people, because I don't see no Klan. I don't hear no Klan rallies or nothing like that. Go ahead.
2 years ago, there was literally a Klan white supremacy attack at this gas station in Belton. Belton is 7 minutes where I live. You get on the highway, you get Belton's right there, right? So I've always been in the trenches of this shit. Why you guys think I learned martial arts? I don't understand how these motherfuckers. I don't get how people walk around not terrified without knowing how to fight. That's another point. But me personally, I don't give a fuck. You don't like me, and I'm speaking only for me. I literally don't give a fuck. If you're at home saying the N-word, don't like Black people, I don't give a fuck as long as the system is not fucking with me. You know what I mean?
It's completely unserious.
And that,
I wonder how they even ask the question. That's unserious. That can't be serious, Nick.
What happened?
No, I mean, it can't be serious that they really think that Karen at the park calling somebody the N-word, they can't think that's worse than a law enforcement officer murdering. Like, how does that equate to people? Go ahead.
That makes no sense. And that's why RB, we focus on the material reality. And remember what I said in the preface of this story? This is why I caught a ton of blocks on Twitter. Because 65% of these Americans, and a lot of them include liberals as well, I kept saying, Joe Biden is a racist. And people don't believe me. They're like, oh my God, Jim Crow Joe, he's so nice. Come on, he's Uncle Joe. Come on, he was friends with Barack Obama. He can't be racist. This is literally the brain rot that we deal with in the society. Now I'll continue reading just a little bit more. According to the study, examples of areas in need of institutional overhaul include policing, healthcare, prison, politics, the courts, and housing. Speaking on healthcare, I explained many times before, Black people have the highest amount of medical debt. The highest percentage of people in medical debt are Black. 1 out of 3 Black Americans will have medical debt in their lifetime. That's way more than the average. We are literally charged more on healthcare cost. We die earlier because we get lack of quality of healthcare because of healthcare discrimination. But 65% of Americans are like, come on, man. Why y'all talking about that stuff? Let's worry about some people saying some mean stuff on Twitter. Now, I've been online since the early 2000s. I've been called nigger so many times. That shit don't even faze me. You know what fazes me? Our racist police system that is expanding under both parties. This is why I'm glad RB.
Literally, no, I'm not gonna say that. Like, eliminate racism, real racism, the racism that keeps people poor. Like they don't. This is what I'm saying, Nick. People are saying without saying it that black people are innately stupid. That black people will be innately at the bottom. That this is how black people are, because you can't say this in the poll and believe that black people are equal. You can't have both. You get what I'm saying? Then how do you explain us being at the bottom of every category, even though we've been here longer than the Italians, the Irish, the Jews? Like, how do you explain that? Oh, it only can be, it's two things. It's either the environment, the conditions being placed on them, or it's just black people don't know what we're doing here. Go ahead, Nick.
The last part I'll read and I'll pass it to you, CJ. And they just gave, at this point in the article, they just give some examples, right? And they talk about in Massachusetts, there was a state commission report that exposed structural racism in the state's prison and jails, including correction policies, the treatment of incarcerated people of color, and access to education, healthcare, and treatment for those in prison and jail. And then you had the Minnesota Department of Human Rights that released a report that found probable cause that racial discrimination exists in the city's police department in Minnesota. This is where Democrats are. That's Amy Klobuchar's state. And Democrats, despite this report, was like, let's fund the police more. Let's continue to fund these motherfuckers. The report also stated that officers use disrespectful and racist language. Now you guys see why I take the hard line that makes so many people uncomfortable, especially in white America, why I say if you're enabling this police state, you are a racist. Whether you know it or not, you believe that we deserve to be put down and dehumanized by this fascist state because we know no better. Now this is the other example they give, and I'll pass to you, CJ. But they said, but there are more below the radar individual instances. Now they give you some examples. Oh, actually, I'll skip a paragraph. My bad. The instances that involve individual racist incidents catch a lot of visceral public outcry. For example, a white student at the University of Kentucky was permanently banned by the school last year after she spewed racist comments and assaulted a black student. So it's good that that person held accountable, but those same people that will ban this student have no criticism of this study about police officers. In fact, these are the same people that say, you guys are taking it too far when you say all cops are bastards. Theoretical question, if you're a cop around and you see another racist cop being disrespectful, what would they use? Use disrespectful and racist language. If you see your co-worker, your fellow police officer do that, and you don't say anything about it, you don't report him, are you a good cop? The question should be obvious, right? You're not. So
they'll say what they are. They'll say they are.
Yeah, so they would say you're not. They're not a good cop though. Then they gave a few more examples. I'll stop there. Actually, I think this is a good conclusion paragraph. The Pew survey noted that many black adults think institutional overhauls are necessary to ensure fair treatment. Remember the study I showed you guys literally early last year, literally about over 12 months ago. CJ, we did a study that showed that black Americans are paving the path towards socialism in this country. The highest percentage of socialists are young black Americans. Despite the fact that Democrats say, oh my God, all these Marxism and socialism, they're just young white suburb shit. The exact opposite. Everything you hear
like Morning Joe saying the vast majority of black people are conservative, right, Al Sharpton? And they just turned like the white coon and lapped it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, MSNBC and liberal news would do that to help white liberals feel better about not being a socialist. So they're like, oh, well, it's just white, suburban, spoiled, rich kids who don't know anything about any life experience. Meanwhile, literally every single data point shows that black people, Latinos, and indigenous people are more likely to be socialists, which makes sense because we come from a naturally socialist background. Marx, when he wrote Marxism, what he did was analyze Western institutions, compared it to how indigenous people, Africans, and other people live. This is what Kwame Ture, he did an amazing speech talking about this. He said, this is why black people got him. He said, if people think that his whole point was people think socialism for white people, but it's the exact opposite. Socialism and Marxism was literally formed by observing previously colonized people before they was colonized and other indigenous tribes. So this does not shock me at all, but it's just something else to prove our point. I'll read that part again. The Pew survey noted that many Black adults think institutional overhauls are necessary to ensure fair treatment. You guys see why we got the politics that we do at RBN?
Let's just take that and apply it to our media space.
Yep.
What are we saying versus everybody else? That illustrates this entire segment. Like, what are we saying versus everybody else? But I gotta say, we do have white comrades that are saying a lot of the same things, and we like to take credit. We're not gonna say anybody's name or anything, but we like to take credit that hope that some of our influence is spreading out. Like yeah, I'm not gonna use that example, but yeah, that's my last word. Your last word, sir, on that segment, or
yeah, I can pass. I'll pass to you. I think
okay.
That's a good way.
All right, so another little short segment. That was a 20-minute segment. Let's do another shorter segment, and that's this segment. Where is it? Oh, right here. Max Frost here for young people. Now, Nick, I'll preface this segment this way. We're not gonna be fooled again like we were fooled with A.
Never again. Never.
That's not gonna happen again. So we need to go ahead, Nick, and identify who Max Frost is being tailored to be. Max Frost is being tailored to be that young person that's drawing in all the young people that's needed. Now, what did they just learn? The Democrats in this last election, they can't win no elections without young people. So Max Frost, do you think it's a coincidence that nigga flipped on the Palestinians? And now, the new golden boy. If they put him on corporate media calling him the new golden boy and they keep pushing him out there, Nick,
that means they feel
exactly. That means they feel secure, Nick.
Yeah.
That they have got this guy. That means if they putting him out there like that, that means because they can't have him go out and then he start talking about some Marxist shit. You get what I'm saying? They know we got him. So let's go ahead and bring him. This is the guy that's here to bring in young people back to the Democratic Party. I just want to preface that. Go ahead.
I'll pass right to you, but I don't know. I wonder what you guys' thoughts on this because I remember this really clearly when AOC, Ilhan, and Rashida first hit the scene. They used to get a lot of critical liberal media coverage. I know because I used to follow this shit like a hog back then. As someone who was part of the Bernie campaign, they used to get a lot of critical media coverage for maybe the first year. Then they were like, "Oh shit, they are sellouts." We thought they was actually about to fight for socialism. We thought that they even said it in Fox News and a few MSNBC statements. They thought that Squad would come in and vote against Nancy Pelosi. They thought they're gonna throw everything to chaos. Then they realized that they were good little Democrat sellouts. So then the right wing media kept up the pressure, but the left wing media started to adore them, started to love them. Now you see AOC on Alex Wagner. With no pushback, no criticism at all. So the same, and remember, Jennifer Rubin is like a reply girl to AOC now. She always having fun with AOC replying to him. And Jennifer Rubin was one of the most unhinged anti-Bernie people.
Terrible, yeah.
So you see how there was initial pause. Then they realized they were sellouts. Look at Maxwell Frost and the New Progressives. There's not even that moment of criticism. It's like they're immediately welcoming because they're like, "Oh yeah, we all know the Justice Democrats."
We've been told about you, Maxie. Like, think about it now. Before Max, we was like Jamal Bowman's quickest sellout ever seen. Yeah. Max, because Jamal Bowman at least got elected and flipped the next day. Yeah. Before Max Frost got elected, Palestinians said that nigga left, flipped. Yeah. Because he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, damn, I really could win this shit. Then he started getting money and backing, and then the Democratic establishment started talking to him behind the scenes. And they said, oh yeah, we got this cat. Now, got a short clip. This is a short segment. I'm just going to play the clip, and I just want to get your reaction, but prefaced it enough to illustrate the point, what he's here for. And I think it's very curious what he says in this short little clip. Let's listen.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Larissa, and I run the Young Adult Program at the Friends Committee on National Legislation. And I really love what you were saying, Representative Frost, about bringing young adults, young people to the table. You said that kind of at the beginning of our conversation. And so I want to talk a bit about what happens after the voting, after we've gotten our people elected. Something we teach young adults is that representatives and senators have to listen to you. There is a way to get meetings with them and get your story heard. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. People don't want to take those meetings, or they take them and they're not really listening to what we're saying. So my question is, how do you think that other colleagues of yours could bring more young adults to the table once they're in office, and how do you plan to do that now that you are not rep-elect anymore, but representative? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Nick, just curious, I'm putting you on the spot. As a candidate, socialist candidate, how would you answer that question? What are some of the things you would say to say, hey, this is how I would bring people into my socialist party, my communist party, whatever the workers' party? What would your sort of answer be?
I told you guys before that. Remember when the Amazon union called out AOC because AOC wasn't showing up at their events despite being invited? Yes. And then they got a win. Then AOC was like, "Oh, I've always been on board." It was like, "Nah, motherfucker. When we was calling you, you wasn't answering." So I remember when we covered that at the time. I said, "Yo, if I was ever an elected politician, these niggas be kicking me out. Like, I'll be at so many of these strikes. Literally, I'll be on my calendar. Like, you guys got any info on anyone striking, protesting? You got anyone who needs on the ground support? Nigga, it'll be the point. Like, if I was in the AOC same position, there'll be Amazon workers that be like, nigga, we don't need you no more. You were just here, bro." Like, so this question wouldn't be a thing for me. I'm like, if I was him to answer the question, because obviously I wouldn't be in charge yet, I was like, yo, you guys are gonna get tired of me real quick because I'm really don't even care about being in Washington. What the point of me being in Washington? I'm not gonna have any committee assignments. They're gonna hate my guts. I'm not gonna have no structural power. So what I'm gonna do, shit, I might even skip out on Washington. I'll stay in the hood. Stay in the hood. Who got protests? Who want to have a town hall? Let's have a Q&A. You guys see how it's the exact opposite with the squad and these people? I'm not saying Maxwell, because obviously he ain't taken office yet. But you see how impossible it is to get a conversation with AOC and the squad? You got activists that was at the protest that Cory Bush did at the Capitol steps, and they couldn't even talk to him. So it's the exact opposite approach than I do. My approach would be like, y'all niggas had to kick me out. Like, they're like, man, this nigga Nick, you using it for PR. I'm like, no, I really do, I promise. But meanwhile, we had to beg these motherfuckers to acknowledge that the outside game exists. Khanna, who we're gonna roast here later, the only person who goes on independent media, the only one. So this question 100% implies, and Maxwell Frost need to have continued pressure on this because he's gonna give some bullshit answer here, I'm assuming, but he 100% not gonna fall through the way I want, right? But go ahead, CJ.
Let's listen. Now you let me know because I think you might in a little bit in the next minute or so. Within a minute, you'll be telling me to stop somewhere. So let's listen.
No, this is a great question because one young person and there's a lot of young people in Congress to be exact, right? Like this incoming freshman class is really exciting. There's a lot of firsts. There's a lot of very young people of color, progressive folks who've come in. Greg Casar being one, Delia Ramirez, Summer Lee, Robert Garcia. I could go on for a long time. But so it's really exciting. I'm definitely not the only one. But what I'd say is like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 young people going in Congress doesn't mean that the values or best interests of young people will be seen throughout the entire Congress. And I think it's important to know that, right? We see the same thing when we get Black folks in position of power. We see the same thing when we get just people, marginalized communities in position of power. Sometimes we don't see it translate quickly. And a lot of it's because these systems have been around for such a long time. It's almost unfair of us to expect. I remember 4 women of color who came to Congress 2 terms ago, and people were disappointed. Everything didn't change right away, and I'm like, that's kind of an unfair way to judge, for folks.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, he's gonna be the worst of them all. Like, he saw Jamal Bowman, he was like, nigga, I'm about to break your record and sell now. This is easy. What he's saying here makes no sense. He said, well, there are a lot of young people. First, he started filibustering in the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
Literally wasn't talking. There's a lot of young people of color, a lot of people of here. And then, despite saying there are a lot, he's not the only one. He did say, actually kind of hard, man. You know what I mean? You expecting us to fight? Like, you think we're gonna change shit? Like, yeah, it's hard, man. Come on. What you guys want? It's hard. And then he lies. And this is the lie that the progressive politician groomed people to believe that, oh my God, there's only a handful of us. We need more. There's a handful of us, so you can't expect change. We don't need that many. And this is what they're lying to people about. We literally need just enough, for example, to stop Nancy Pelosi from being speaker. We need just enough to hold up an omnibus bill, which we have enough. So let's continue the video because I already caught him on a few lies and a few logical inconsistencies. So let's continue. I'm pretty sure there's more.
Yeah.
Folks who come in the system that has been here for a long time. Okay, so either way, what I'm getting to is this. I think it's really important that people identify like their gaps and what they want to do before they start, legislating.
What?
So that way they can build systems of accountability into their office. For us,
What?
we've been working closely with like.
Are you
Build
incapable
systems.
to talking to working class people? Like, can you talk and have a normal conversation? Play the last 15 seconds again and listen to this word salad that says nothing. Talk like you are a young progressive. Why the fuck are you using DC speak? Am I the only one that
He's already been in training. That's what I'm saying. They already have been grooming this guy because they know he said, "Yeah, I'm here to sell out." So here you go.
For folks who come in the system that has been here for a long time. Okay, so either way, what I'm getting to is this. I think it's really important that people identify like their gaps and what they want to do before they start, legislating. So that way they can build systems of accountability into their office. For us, we've been working closely with like.
You tell me that doesn't sound like AOC? Like
that sounds like nothing.
Wait, you said some words, but I didn't grasp any concept at all from what you said. But
I remember the question. They do this thing, and I'm literally gonna pull this up just real quick.
Go ahead, do it.
They're the CIA tactics right here, right? They do this, and people been calling out Ryan Graham for this as well. You guys see, talk as frequently as possible and at great length. Illustrate your points using long anecdotes. Like this filler, but it's the same thing with Ryan Graham do. These people just talk, they feel the air, and then by the time they're done, you're like, shit, what the fuck the question was?
Yeah.
He's literally meant to obfuscate. He asked him a simple question. The question was very simple. Just in case you guys forgot, he said, how do we get in contact with you guys? Are we going to be able to meet you people in office, in Congress? And then he goes on this large word salad when he can simply say, yeah, only thing he had to say in this question, like, yo, I know the progressive movement had not been good on this, AOC Squad had not been good on it. He don't even have to say that, to be honest. He can say, I will be accessible. I will be accessible as possible.
Right.
But he does not say this. Go back another 15 seconds. He literally says this word salad that makes no sense based on what the question's saying. But go ahead, let's continue.
That has been here for a long time. Okay, so either way, what I'm getting to is this. I think it's really important that people identify like their gaps and what they want to do before they start, legislating. So that way they can build systems of accountability into their office. For us, we've been working closely with like Florida and Orlando movements, so we can build on this term of like co-governance and like what does it mean to co-govern with the movement. And
I want the video to play, but I want to emphasize that he's not answering the question. He's not answering the question.
Just making up shit as he goes.
Yeah, it's young people, but it's also beyond young people. It's like workers, it's immigrants, it's like everybody, right? And I think it's important that people have that conversation. I don't have an answer that makes sense for everyone because I think everything's going to look different.
I don't have an answer that makes sense.
There's different.
Yes,
that sounds like AOC. That sounds straight out the school of AOC. I don't have an answer that makes sense to everyone.
That's an easy question. I don't have an answer that makes sense. Nigga, you was asked, will you be available for your constituents? And his response is, I got an answer that don't make sense for everybody. What? Holy shit, I didn't see this video. This guy is horrible. Like, we probably won't even doing AOC segments after we're probably gonna be nothing but Maxwell Frost. This guy is coming in hot with garbage. He coming in hot. Holy shit, go ahead, CJ. Jesus Christ.
Constituencies and politics and everything like that. But I think having the conversation first and foremost is like the first step. Then the next step is actually acting upon it. And so we're kind of we're in between those steps. We're still figuring out what are those systems of accountability going to look like? What does it look like to co-govern with movements and with unions in Central Florida? What does it look like to do that in a state legislature where we're not going to have any wins there? I mean, Republicans are in a super majority. We have a fascist governor. There's a lot going on in Florida.
He's answering a question, but he's answering it this way. this is a person who's hedging. This is a person like who knows that their answer could lead to some incrimination. So they're trying to like answer several questions ahead.
Exactly.
So what he's doing is it's how do we get accessible to you? Now, if you're accessible to him, what do you need to be accessible? Are you going to come and say, I like you, everything you're doing, or are you coming down there to talk to him about a problem? So he's saying, this is how we're going to co-govern. He's basically saying, you're not going to be really accessible to me, but we're going to figure out a way to co-govern for me to be accountable. This sounds just like AOC. So he's trying to, because he knows, oh, you're going to be accessible that way because I know you want to bring problems to me to solve that I already been told by my handlers are never going to be solved. So this is what he's doing, Nick. This is crazy. This is crazy. Somebody is grooming this guy. Somebody's grooming this guy. Yeah. Now it could have been through his campaign, but somebody is grooming him.
Yeah, and you
know, this is advanced level word salad. This is like
you're trained to do this. That's a good point. You're trained to do this. No one does this naturally. You're trained to do this shit. Like go back 6 seconds, and you see he bring up Ron DeSantis in the far right. He's like, yo, technically we won't be able to get anything done because Florida is a Republican stronghold. What does that have to do with the question, sir? He's answering your complaint that you're going to come to his office already. Didn't I tell you he's answering ahead? He's answering questions ahead on why he's not gonna. So he's not answering accessibility. So he's not answering that directly, but he's trying to give you the reason of why you're not going to be accessible before he comes back to telling you I'm not going to be accessible. That's basically what he's doing. This is next level word salad. This is like somebody's grooming him. You know what it told me? You know what it told me, CJ? The squad was extremely goofy, right? Like they had no idea what they was doing. The DNC and a lot of their advisors, they're like, Now these new people, I think they're going to be way worse than the original squad. They are going to be high level, highly trained establishment goons. Unlike, like I remember Corey Bushgate's interview in Fox News where she did not look good. Like she didn't have this training. I don't know if you guys remember. It was a very viral clip when she was campaigning, where she was kind of exposed as a dumbass, where she didn't have the right answer. She didn't know how to do the politician cadence. So there was a lot of amateur-like behavior among the squad when they first did DC. Nah, this new generation, this new progressives, bro, they probably polished up because the establishment already know what their role is now. They embracing the Justice Democrats and DSA. They're like, let's train these people so they can be the effective youth wing of the Democratic Party. This guy is dangerous. Extremely dangerous. But go ahead, CJ.
Here we go.
What does it look like to co-govern with movements and with unions in Central Florida? What does it look like to do that in a state legislature where we're not going to have any wins there? I mean, Republicans are in a super majority. We have a fascist governor. There's a lot going on in Florida.
He's literally telling you all the reasons why not to come to his office. What do you expect? DeSantis is here. Go ahead, Nick. We paused it at the same spot. You obviously want to.
I'm gonna address this pushback real quick. I think it's funny. This guy said, "You guys ever going to attack the center or the right in the video?" Sir,
this is center right here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, CJ, you already had it. That's why we love. I love pushback comments. Your mind is so decolonized that you see people send weapons to Nazis and like they're on the left. I don't criticize many people on the left here. Name one member of the squad that's on the left. Not a single goddamn one. If you vote for the Iron Dome in Israel, if you vote to fund the Capitol Police more and give them surveillance powers, period, let me drop everything else. I can drop it. There's a lot of examples. But as a leftist on principle, if you arm Nazis, you're not leftist. You're a Nazi sympathizer. You're a Nazi enabler. So you, by definition, cannot be on the left. So I think it's funny when people overturn windows so screwed up when they think that elected progressive Democrats they think they're on the left while they're funding the police and the military more. So I just like doing them quick comebacks. What's up, JB? What's popping, bro? I'll call them in the chat. What's popping, bro? This is your representative.
Boy.
I hope.
This is his representative.
Yeah, CJ. I don't know if you know, but I'm going to.
No. RBN is about to be in that ass, man. RBN is about to be in that ass. Because, no, literally, what do they always say when somebody go protest? You're not even in my district. Not in this case, sir. RBN will be in that ass. This is your constituent.
I don't know. We were talking earlier in DMs. I don't know if you saw it, but we're gonna try and trick Maxwell Frost to come on we see because Sabi got his email address, and I'm gonna be like, yo, we have one of our members of your constituent. We just had a question for you. You say you are willing to be held accountable, so are you willing to come on for an interview with one of your constituents? Woo! I really hope this works, son. Can you imagine me grilling this guy? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna take my shot. But JB, that's your constituent. You've been watching. Yeah. What's your thoughts about what you've been hearing?
Good to see you guys. One of the things to make note, especially about Representative Frost, is the fact that his non-answer is quite telling. That he will not make himself available to one of his constituents, like myself, also part of independent media, in order to keep him held accountable within this state. I do not care that this state is run by Republicans. I do not care that we have a fascist like Ron DeSantis. You are still a representative of us, and so therefore, you need to hear us out. I live near Millennia. I live near Oak Ridge Road. It's like right down the street from me. We spent millions on the expansion of Holden Avenue, right, to connect Holden Avenue from Rio Grande all the way to John Young. We spent millions on that, right, just to expand that leads to Millennia, that leads to the mall that is one of the biggest centers of capitalism within this part of the community. That mall is extremely opulent. And a lot of the people that live in this neighborhood work in that area. We're the ones that work in the Jimmy Choo's. We're the ones that work in the Tiffany's. We're the ones that work in the Bloomingdale's. We're the ones that work in the Versace stores. We're the ones that work in these places. We're the ones that work in the Ethan Allen's. We're the ones that work at these restaurants like the Cheesecake Factory. And it's literally 5-minute drive away from me. And so, which is also part of Maxwell Alejandro Frost's district. So all this, and then our neighborhood still looks like crap. This is still the hood next to an opulent mall, which leads directly to Windermere and Isleworth, which is a very rich area. Tiger Woods has a former house in that area. Shaq has a house that was in that area. That type of neighborhood. And that leads directly to that mall where these people shop. And so my thing is, why don't you have accessibility to us, especially the poor people within your district? Why not to the people who are largely Puerto Rican, Haitian, black in this area? Because the thing is that I call this area where I live Little Port-au-Prince, because there's a lot of Haitian immigrants here, right?
What is his take on that? What is his take on what Joe Biden?
I don't know, and to be honest with you, I would like to hear his take on it, because the thing is that the thing is that they get overlooked. Like, for instance, we have Orange County Sheriff's Office here almost on a daily basis overlooking this neighborhood. And the thing is that the crime in this neighborhood is due to poverty, not because of guns or just bad people. Like, look, because of poverty. If Rome has been here, I can tell you how many liquor stores and check cashing places are within a block away from my house. So my thing is like, okay, you're going to spend all this money. Why not do a program where you take all these high school kids, largely that go to Oak Ridge High School, and help get them grants to go to college, right? Or grants to go to Mid-Florida Tech, which is right down the street on Oak Ridge, right? So they can get a technical education at least. So my thing is like, why are we spending on this money on this road instead of that? You know, are you going to be, you know, buddy with our former representative, Val Demings? Are you going to be buddy with her husband, Jerry Demings, who is the mayor of Orange County, which that's what Alejandro Frost's district is in? Are you buddy with him? Or what about Buddy Dyer, the mayor of Orlando, who is also a Democrat? My county run by a Democrat. The city of Orlando run by a Democrat. My district ran by a Democrat.
And that's such a powerful point, JB. Because
so
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
My point is that he's doing this word salad, and he could have just said, yes, you guys will have full access to me. I'm not going to be like everybody else. I'm not going to be like the cop, my predecessor, the cop.
Let's finish. Just a few seconds left. Go ahead. Go ahead. I couldn't see you. Go ahead. Let me put.
JB pretty much said these people are representatives. Remember what I told you guys? You want to know who my representative is? Emmanuel Cleaver.
Who's yours?
Emmanuel Cleaver. He's a member of the Black Congressional Caucus. He's against Medicare for All, the Green New Deal. He was a big Hillary Clinton supporter, a big Joe Biden supporter. He's a neoliberal. Can't see this. It's surrounded by neoliberals. Jay now has this neoliberal Kasparian as a progressive in his district. So when people ask, why you spend so much time criticizing Democrats? It's because we were one of the few people who are actually fucking serious. Why should I spend all my time criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these people who live in deep red districts that don't govern me? Marjorie Taylor Greene is a clown, but she's not impacting my life. You want to know who's impacting my life? The Black congressional oligarchs who literally legislate in favor of real estate development companies and landlords who funding the KCPD more. We have one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. Local politics impact your life more than anything else, and Black people are governed by neoliberal Democrats for the most part. And that's what you should be having your focus on. But go ahead, CJ. I'll pass it to you.
No, I think we had a pretty good discussion of that because that was just supposed to be a short story. Yeah. I think we covered it. We don't need to cover everything he says because it's just ridiculous. And then I'll push my other short story a little bit later. We can cover the Khanna next after I do the announcements. So let me do the announcements because we haven't done them yet.
Go ahead.
Oh wow. So I know it's an hour, almost an hour in, but we're just now getting to announcements. Happy to see JB join the Nick and CJ show. So welcome, JB. And first things first, let's get to our Substack. Our Substack is gaining ground. Or gaining people, and our Discord is gaining people. So if you would like to join our Discord, there's two ways to do it. The pay way, if you're a Patreon member and you pay every month, you get the link emailed to you. And then if you don't have the ability to financially support RBN, we still have a way to get to our Discord, and that's through Substack. Join our Substack, and we'll send the link to you in the next couple of days. So join our Substack. Also, if you want notifications when we go live, like today, we went 30 minutes earlier than our normal time. Last night, Nick went later in the evening. So if you want to get notified of these impromptus or just all of our streams, all of our clips, make sure you join our Substack. Second thing, let's like the stream. We're at 167 likes, but we got 327 people. That's like almost exactly double. So can we get another 100 people to hit that like button? 100 people hit that like button. Let's get to 265. 265, 100 people hit that like button. And gentlemen, this is where we're at with our subscriber count.
Y'all need to listen to CJ and just like the stream. Y'all need to listen to like the stream.
Yes.
If you get his smile of approval, you will get warm fuzzies deep within your heart. And with that, I'm gonna head out because I got Sabby and JB show earlier this evening. I just want to come in for this segment.
So. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank
All right,
you,
man,
sir.
guys.
Good having
Great
you.
show. I'll be listening in the background, so take care.
Yeah, we see JB at 6 p.m. Eastern time. JB and
Yes,
JB
6
and
p.m.
Savvy
Eastern.
show, always good
All right.
time.
Savvy
And
and JB.
what they were talking about, I'm not gonna spoil it because I saw the topic, the Dana White thing. I'm telling you guys, I feel I got a extreme amount of hatred for Dana White. I'm not gonna talk about it now, but this guy.
If you want to join, Nick, you're welcome. Come on, join. All right.
I can make the.
Deuces.
I'm a big martial art nerd, and this is off topic. I'm not gonna be long on this, but I can make a
go
very
ahead.
strong argument that Dana White really crippled MMA and martial arts, and a lot of people have it twisted. A lot of people have flipped. A lot of people are like, oh my god, Dana White is responsible for the growth of the UFC. No, that was the Fertitas. Dana White screwed UFC fighters. He harmed the talent pool by ripping them off. He destroyed legitimately good competition while disallowing cross-promotional events. MMA is good right now, but it would have been way better off if it wasn't for Dana White. That dude was a scumbag, and he got away with the same shit. Dana White famously said that if you hit a woman, you're done. It's over for you. But now he did the same thing, and nothing happened to him. So, well, it's not surprising, but fuck Dana White. I don't know you guys know. They don't like anyway. Sorry, go ahead, CJ.
That's just a little preview. That's just a little preview. If Nick joins at 6 p.m. Savvy and JB show, check out our website. It's sort of officially launched. There's still things we're changing, but that's the URL, and then on screen you can just see a little bit of the website, what we believe in, our chapters, media, summits. Pictures of our outreach, what we're about, our story. You can get to our clips. You can find contact information, our email. Check out our website. Now we can get into, I think we're doing the Khanna story. Is that the one we're doing? So we can get into the Khanna story now. Oh, actually, we got 400 freaking comments. So I guess, we probably should throw up something though. I don't know if anybody's.
Yeah, I would put some comments up. Big shout out to Abeding. Always leave great super stickers. We appreciate you, comrade. And I'll put up some comments on there. Stop off for tea time with Nick. God, I can literally do a whole stream on Dana White fucking long. I hate that guy. Let's see. Is there anything else? Make sure you guys leave some super chats because there's a lot of conversation among each other. I see. So anything you guys want us to read, make sure you leave a super chat. This is a comment from Yep. Has RBN added links to directly fund RBN and Rome to the main site yet? I don't know if it's on the main site. I put our new Venmo in the description. Make sure you got.
That's in the description. Yeah.
Revolutionary Blackout on Venmo is a good way to donate. Leave a note because I manage those accounts. So if you guys want to send a donation to Rome, just leave a little note there. I'll make sure it gets to them. So that's another way. Yeah. As well, we're gonna have all that stuff.
Those links, the financial links will be added later. Nick and I, all of us have already been. This is what we've been discussing the last couple of weeks. So we're gathering those, and that will be put on there. Things like a GoFundMe, a PayPal, a Venmo, a Cash App, and I don't know if there's any other way, but all of those ways of donating and giving. We're going to try to get up as soon as we can. So probably over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would expect that to be up. And I think that can be the final question, Nick, and we can get to the Khanna story. Let's do this.
Yeah, this is in this video. I'll allow you to pull it up, and I can preach.
Yeah, I'll put it up. Yeah, go ahead.
Khanna is the only person who does interviews in independent media, and it's almost like a level of smugness. Like he can trick people. But he was on Counterpoints with Ryan Grimm, and Ryan Grimm had to ask him about the elephant in the room. And CJ, I know we were talking about this earlier. They had a long sit-down conversation, right? They put this part right at the end of the interview, right? And I don't think that's a coincidence. Because I told you guys this before. Like these people are smart. Like when you look at analytics, literally like 50% or more of the people drop after like halfway through the video. So it was like. Ryan Grimm knew the whole force to vote thing. That was the giant elephant in the room. He knew he had to ask him about that. So they just throw that at the end. He let him get away with it. But I know we can put the video.
Yeah, I have the video. So it's like if you think that tells you that they didn't even take that as a serious thing. That's if they left that at the bottom. You ever watch local news? What stories they put at the end of the local news? Cat riding motorcycles. Grandma got a cat stuck in a tree. They put the thing they don't care anything about.
Yes.
To bury it. And that is astonishing that you would not lead with that. And to go see that full video and see what they do lead with. Some garbage. Like they lead with some straight with some garbage. So here is am I sharing?
And the first time I called this out is when we did that video where Kyle Kalinske was running cover for AOC. Remember when AOC was called out by Jose and his friend? And then he literally spent 4 minutes talking about Tosi, knowing that most people would tune out the video by then. So he don't address the protester that was calling AOC out for Ukraine funding. He waits to literally 4 to 5 minutes in. And guys, Kyle is a veteran. Ryan Graham, the people are veteran. He's been uploading videos since the start of uploading videos. You think he don't know about people's attention spans and how they fall off after videos? So he spent the first part literally obfuscating and making it about Tulsi when it's about a protester calling out AOC. And the reason I'm bringing that up because that reminds me of this conversation, and that's why I'm glad that case study clipped this out because he's a trooper. He sat through this thing. And he find out shit. He started pointing like, oh shit, he clipped it. He's like, this is important. Why the hell you guys didn't leave with this? Anyway, that's my thought. We can
because I started watching the full video, and it's literally like, this is what independent media is going to be doing. Literally bringing on politicians and treating them like it's a talk show. Like it's not like it's not any sort of newsworthy sort of information for the proletariat in this interview. But let's listen. Shout out Case Study QB for the clip.
If Democrats take the House back in 2 years, which seems plausible, it'll probably be by a narrow margin. Is there any thinking going on in the Progressive Caucus now to say, what are we going to demand when that comes around?
Well, Hakeem Jeffries was warned, but
why would they laugh at that? Why would they laugh at that?
Oh my God! It almost like Rokan's like, you think I'm gonna?
All of them did. All of them laughed. Let's watch that again.
And Ryan Grimm laughed because I can't believe I'm asking this ridiculous. It almost like a wink and a nod. Almost like a wink and nod to Rokan. He's like, you know how to ask this question, or people will be mad at me, right?
This is probably like take 7. This is probably like take 17 because they laughed like a bunch of times. The first 16 takes. Let's go.
When that comes around.
Well, Hakeem Jeffries was warned by Kevin McCarthy, right? He said, I had a unanimous vote 2 years ago. Look, I think there are arguments for it. For example, Medicare for all, to get hearings on that, to get a vote on that. But here's the difference, and I believe the fundamental difference.
Medicare for all, but we're not going to make it. There's argument for Medicare for all and why we should have vote, but we're not going to make it. We're going to shut the fuck up. Keep playing. It's unbelievable.
Unserious.
The Freedom Caucus and the Progressive Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, by their own definition, just wants to blow things up and cut things. I mean, that's
by their own definition. They just want to blow things up and cut things. I would say they have more of a definition than that. But let's listen.
Them cutting the military and FBI is good. But go ahead.
Here's the difference, and I believe the fundamental difference with the Freedom Caucus and the Progressive Caucus. The Freedom Caucus, by their own definition, just wants to blow things up and cut things. I mean, that's why they're in Congress. And I disagree with it. I'm not questioning their motives. They're in Congress because they want to reduce spending, cut government. That's an easier thing to be a no on than saying, okay, we want Medicare for all, which is we have to have legislation, draft it, and just say, it's a harder thing to do when you have an affirmative agenda.
Oh my God, it's too hard. You guys want us to fight for something? You want us to actually draft legislation and debate it? Oh my! It's easy. He's complaining. He's like, when you're a Republican, it's easy. All I gotta do is talk about breaking stuff apart. But when you're progressive, you actually got to deliver for people, man. It's way harder. Don't you guys understand? You know how hard it is.
And it's hard. It's hard to deliver what people want when you're using the position as a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard. It's hard because you're not going to deliver on these things, and you know how you have to do certain things because in order to get promoted, you got to be good to the bosses. You got to be good to them in order to get promoted. Go ahead.
This is funny. Desert said, "You want us to use our law degrees?" That's essentially what Ro just said. We got write, we got research, we got to do legislation. Oh, by the way, what they leave out is that they're literally a Medicare for all bill. It Pramila Jayapal's bill.
Yeah.
And the ask is for you to put that bill that's already made on the floor. And he's lying to people. He's just straight up gaslighting them. Come on, man, all this work, man. We got to craft the bill. Nigga, it's always there. It's already there. You guys just got to fight for it.
And the uncomfortableness of them not wanting to use the word force the vote. I mean, I would bet money that they said, the producer or somebody, let's make sure we don't use the words force the vote in this segment. So let's make sure that doesn't happen, because they're literally trying their best not to say those words. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It's absolutely calculated. I know it's everyone who was against force the vote trying their best, because then they would have to admit they was wrong. And think about what they say about Ryan Grimm. Like, literally, we only like 30 or 40 seconds in here, and we see all these illogical statements that Ro Khanna's made. It's obvious that he's bullshitting us. But Ryan Grimm, he's like, kill it, bro. Yeah, yeah. No criticism of anything what Ro says. Doesn't that say everything about Ryan as well? The show is literally named Counterpoints. But Ryan Grimm don't bring up one counterpoint to what Ro Khanna says. Why the fuck is your name Counterpoint? Counterpoint, but we're not gonna follow up on a politician. Unbelievable.
It's completely a joke. I mean, it's the same with breaking points. What points are they breaking but corporate points? But back to Ro Khanna.
They're in Congress because they want to reduce spending, cut government. That's an easier thing to be a no on than saying, okay, we want Medicare for all, which is we have to have legislation.
It's easier to cut military spending to get Medicare for all. Those seems kind of big. Both of them kind of seem hard to do. But the conservatives are doing it. I mean, they've gotten further along that route, that path, than any left person has even sniffed. They're actually voting to fund money, to give them more money. So there you go.
Draft it and just say it's a harder thing to do when you have an affirmative agenda. So the progressives are never going to be blow up government or let's just hurt government. But are there lessons in terms of saying
that is saying we're never going to be forced to vote, because forced to vote means we're going to stop the normal procedures like they just did. And he's saying progressives are never going to do that because that's not who we are. Go ahead.
His argument is literally that it's too hard. What? Why would working class people invest? You know what's hard? The money we work for. We donate to you guys. People go out to vote, and your response to this question is it too hard? The Republicans show that yes, it's hard, but it's possible. You guys just don't want to sacrifice your careers. This is Comrade Misty. Let me guess, Grimm didn't put back at all. This is such bullshit, but entirely predictable. He's telling you they are never going to fight for you ever. And he said, yeah, the progressive, we're never going to shut things down. So, what Ro Khanna said is, we're going to accomplish none of our agenda, but, hey, we're going to get a few more committee assignments. I'm going to continue to be comfortable. Hell, I might even run for president one day because I won't piss people off. They literally, like, that's why this interview and this mindset is why I tell you these people are worse than people like Joe Manchin. So I bet you Ro Khanna is going to ask for a paycheck up for re-election. I guarantee you the squad and Bernie Sanders is going to ask for a paycheck from you. But then when you ask them to do something, they be like, oh, it's too hard. How's that not worse than people who take corporate money who don't even pretend to represent you? They are scumbags of the highest order.
Highest order.
This is what grifters look like. A grifter is someone who takes money while saying stuff they do not believe in order to get that money. That is a grifter. That's why people say Candace Owens is a grifter, because people don't believe what she says. She's being wealthy on it. But people call politicians, they say RBM is a grifter. No, the biggest grifters are these politicians who take money lying to people. That is literally what it means. So Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, AOC, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar are the biggest grifters in politics. Go ahead,
Yeah, and don't and you can, I mean, and as far as the corporate Democrats, is it better for them to? Is it better to take money from poor and working class people and with promises that you're never going to deliver, or is it better to take money from corporations and tell people up front, I'm not delivering? Like, I mean, what? Like, y'all trying to act like the squad is the least, the lesser of two evils in that scenario. But let me read this tweet here. There are no lessons. Just say you didn't want to make Nancy mad at you. Just say that. They just look stupid otherwise. We all know you are not going to be oppositional ever. And so people are not, they're reading through it. They didn't have to say we're never going to force a vote for people to look at this and read through it. And let's look at this here. These fuckers are shameless. Nobody is believing his Nick. And I'll go through one more comment here. It says the progressives actually fighting for anything is laughable.
And these moments are exposed because Khanna is one of the few people who progressives that are dumb enough to go on independent media because remember he comes from elite education. He's extremely wealthy around these people. Like there's no doubt in my mind that Khanna thinks the average working class person is dumb as fuck. Khanna has nothing but disdain for you and your intellect. That's why he keep going on Bree's show. He'll go on Counterpoints. He'll go on all these goddamn shows and then lie to you because he's like, I'm gonna trick these dumb working class motherfuckers. So imagine the sound bites we would get if the other progressives had the arrogance that this guy did. Remember the famous quote we got from Nina Turner? That she literally said on a Humanist Report of all people. When she said, well, if you're disappointed with the squad, you're going to be disappointed with me. The soundbite that destroyed her campaign. That soundbite came from an interview with Mike Figueredo, who was not trying to expose her.
Yep. So
can you imagine how much this fraud knowing the squad and the progressives would be exposed if they came on independent media and answer these questions? Like we get these clips almost every single time. Almost every single time Ro does a public appearance, there's a segment to be done about what the stupid shit he said.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When he went on with Brianna a couple of times, on Bad Faith a couple of times, like three times on Bad Faith.
Yeah, he was on Sabby. I girl by Sabby. Yeah, guys, I'm making this point because this is only Khanna. They all just dumb, but they are smarter than Khanna in a way because they're like, we don't want to expose the grift. So Corey Bush, Ilhan Omar, Pramila Jayapal, Rashid Tlaib, they don't do any media. So can you imagine how much more content we would get like this? You know what I mean? Much more exposure the squad would get if they would have conversations. And what does that say about them? This is why we call these people the real dumb left. These are the left that is leading the rest of the working class off a cliff because they're simply incompetent and corrupt.
And let me read this comment. Yes, it's hard to get Medicare for all when only 70% of the people want it.
We think about it, guys. Technically, the Republicans had a harder ass, and I'm gonna start making this argument more. Think about it, CJ. Who had the bigger assignment? Republicans who are already nationally unpopular, advocating for stuff that's not popular, or the squad challenging Nancy Pelosi, one of the most unpopular politicians alive right now. Her approval rating floats anywhere between -15, -20. She's the only politician I've seen in the latest poop poll that is more unpopular than AOC. AOC is more unpopular than Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, but Pelosi to this day, despite AOC's unpopularity, still has her beat. The last poll I saw was like 21%, -21%. So people like Khanna trying to convince you that challenging Nancy Pelosi in Congress, who I showed you guys, Congress has a 24% approval rating. Congress, 24% approval rating. Nancy Pelosi around 29% approval rating. Medicare for all, 70% approved. But you guys think you can't win this fight? What the fuck are you talking about? That makes no sense. No, it's completely fact-free. It's a completely fact-free movement that just run on vibes. Oh, come on, man. We don't want to be rude. Ilhan like, Nancy Pelosi, come on, you take me out to dinner every once in a while, man. Come on. Now you guys see where the anger comes from. These people are deeply unserious, and they have zero logic. I said this on my stream last night. I don't even consider myself smart. I don't even think I'm that smart. It is basic critical thinking skills that is non-existent on the NATO left, on the boutique left. from the squad defenders. No thinking skills whatsoever. Still to this day, people say force the vote wouldn't have worked. That Nancy Pelosi, I see.
Goodness,
Peter literally made this
goodness.
argument before. He literally made this argument against Bree. He said if they did that, they would have been disenfranchised. So Nancy Pelosi, who is massively unpopular, is going to turn people against Medicare for all during a pandemic. How does this make any sense? It doesn't.
But it's just like the professional managerial classes say, it doesn't make sense, and the worker's gonna believe it because they're stupid. It is such a classic take. But I think we can close.
Yeah, we can get some super chats if you want.
Yeah, we can close that segment, and then the next segment is Biden is the anti-Medicare for all candidate. This is one of the shorter segments before we get to the other one. Go ahead, super chat, sir.
Thank you for the $10. Hey Nick, Ben Borges from the Majority Report / TYT groups wants to debate someone on Medicare for all. What? Like, what debate on it? How? Like, for us to vote whether we should have Medicare for all? He's kind of boring, but I would like to see him face your heat.
I just found out that this person Ben Burgess follows RBN. His show, his podcast follows RBN. I don't know if I told y'all that. It was something else that came up with Ben Burgess. Oh, Glenn Greenwald, I think, was calling him out, they were in some sort of exchange with Jimmy and somebody. And so I clicked on Ben, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy that I've seen on like Jacobin. I think I seen him in Majority Report. And then I clicked, and it said like his show, my podcast. I host this show. I clicked on it, and that show was following the RBN account.
Someone said he wants to debate Bree. Man, this dude's gonna be putting. Is he known as a debater? I don't know this guy that much. I don't know. The only thing I see from Majority for like the segments we do are like random clips on Twitter or whatever. So it's like, let's see. Burgess wants to debate Brianna and claims she won. I don't believe that for one fucking second. Maybe I don't know.
But debate what though? But debate what? Like I don't. Maybe it's no silliness. Like she want to debate any silliness. Maybe that's it. And I'm not sure. I don't know about Ben Burgess that much. I just know that, I mean, he's pretty much the regular, PMC shitlib. Like he's that.
So he's a big debate. Yeah, that could be my first debate this year. I had 3 last year. That could be the first debate this year.
I don't understand. What is the debate again? Like, what side is he on? That he doesn't.
I'm assuming that it's his argument that they shouldn't force the vote, and the squad is good. I'm like, dude, this debate.
Oh, I thought he wanted to debate Medicare for all. If he wants to debate force the vote,
that's the only thing that makes sense. That the only thing that makes sense to me. Like, yeah, like even the Majority Report and people like him, they will pretend to be for Medicare for all. So I don't think he's debating like whether we should have Medicare for all. Maybe the strategy, which I don't even understand what he would even argue. Like, oh yeah, I think we should force the vote. I think we should wait 20 years to have Medicare for all. Is that his argument? Like, I can't really even debunk that argument. I'm just saying, if you say that we should wait 20 years to have Medicare for all, you lost the debate already. Like that one of them topics. Like, how you even debate that? Like, if you really telling working class people to continue to go without health care and not fight for it, how do you debate that? How?
The problem with that debate, either Medicare for all or force the vote, the problem is we have evidence now. There's no more theoretical arguments that we just fight over PMC against us. There's no more of that, and just believing you're right because your echo chamber tells you. Now the receipts are here. You get what I'm saying? So that no longer can be the case.
So through that super chat, I'll definitely debate them now. And we're debating force the vote, healthcare in the squad. Easiest debate in my life. Easiest debate in my life. Easiest. I debated Destiny about whether the United States is a fascist country. And I think that was pretty easy. Cause like him, I literally when I did that debate with Destiny, I literally could not believe he was doing it. Like he literally said,
and then
he called me out, and I was like, "Dude, you literally gonna argue that?" That's like, CJ, imagine you having a debate, and he was like, "This dude was like, man, I'm gonna show you up, man. I'm gonna tell you the sky is red, bro. You want to debate me?" Like that's how it felt when I was debating Destiny. Like, bro, you were arguing something that is objectively not true, and that's why I wiped the floor with them. And that's the same how I feel with the Ben Borges debate. Like, if you're legitimately gonna argue that either one, that the squad is progressive, that's something he can debate on. 2, that force the vote was a bad strategy and wouldn't work. These are things that he literally could not debate, and I'm down to say that any day. It'd be the easiest content I'll ever create in my life. But go ahead, CJ.
All right, so let's do a quick announcements. Any other super chats we have? That was what I was gonna ask. If we don't, quick announcement before we get into the next couple of stories. 258 likes. Ben doesn't want to debate Bree. He wants her to clarify her stance on force to vote. Bree mentioned it on her Bad Fate debrief. Oh, so he just wants her, not debate, but just wants her to explain something a little more.
Okay, that made more sense. Cause I was like, man, these people, I would not believe
debate.
I would not believe that anyone for the majority report. Like they all know who we are. Like we know they know because Emma, she used to take shots at me all the time, so they know who I am. They would never debate us in a million years. I would be shocked. Destiny didn't surprise me that much because Destiny is known as a notorious debate me guy person. I just thought I was just surprised he wasn't smarter on picking his battles. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't believe any of these people in the majority report. Then when they see all the videos we did dissing them, will invite us on. No way. No way.
Let's like the stream. We're gonna get in now. The Anna segment, I think that probably the biggest segment as far as people wanting to see, but that's coming up after this very short Biden segment, and then Nick has some short stories. I like starting a little bit early. My daughter's off from play school today. That's the only reason I was even able to do it. But anyway, 261 likes. Let's get to 360 likes. So let's do another 100. If we can get 100 people to hit that like button, we can get about 400 people here watching for that Anna segment that you're not gonna want to miss. I can't believe they interviewed Matt Dustin. They didn't do their homework on that guy. I can't believe that. But essentially, Anna thinks that the person they're interviewing is an expert, foreign policy expert, but he's really a neocon disguised as Bernie Sanders' advisor. So we'll get to that and just destroy that.
She interviewed in a second, Bernie's foreign policy advisor, the guy who had a debate on Democracy Now! And arguing in favor. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah, I can't believe that. I can't believe that.
I'm blanking on his name.
Matt Duss, D-U-S-S. Matt Duss, D-U-S-S. Yeah, so I can't believe it either. But like the stream, let's get 400 people in here for that segment. That's another 100 likes. Join the Substack if you would like notifications or to get the link to our Discord. This is our subscriber count before we got started. The other thing is, here's our new email address. If you want to contact us, stop using the Gmail, info@revblacknetwork.com. And now this is just a quick story. I was going to do this in the introduction. Just curious, Nick, to get your reaction to this story. I guess this is one of the stories that I didn't talk to you about. I just want to get your reaction. But Biden is the anti-Medicare for All candidate, and it's proven in this video right here. This interview. Oh, let me go. Case study QB, another video clip. This is from Bloomberg. Lisa Gill of J.P. Morgan, head of healthcare services, on investors being nervous if Biden doesn't run again because of potential Medicare for All candidates. So let's listen and then get your reaction.
And then on 2024, how does the outlook around these companies change depending on whether or not the individual running for the Democratic side is Joe Biden?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's something we've been talking a lot about, is that will President Biden run or not run? I think we're all waiting to hear his decision. If he decides not to run, we know what we're going to get with the Biden administration, right? We know what we've gotten so far. If he decides not to run and it's opened up and there's a primary, you have Democrats that have a tendency to be a little more liberal and more left-leaning and introduce things around Medicare for All, if you remember, with Bernie or with Elizabeth Warren in the past. And so, I think for an investor, it's the headline risk, right? I mean, even if we go back and we look at what happened with the Affordable Care Act, not nearly as bad as people had anticipated. But again, that's once we get to the details, the headlines are generally what cause managed care to trade off. So until we know the public policy of how that individual's thinking, it's hard to make a determination. And as you know, investors sell first and ask questions later.
So the reason I wanted to play the video before I get your reaction, Nick, is that if people didn't read into what's happening here, investors, the concept, the people have the notion that Joe Biden would be against Medicare for all. That's why they sell off. If they're not, it's kind of shaky whether he's running or not. So they're kind of antsy. What is your first impression of the video? And what do you think? Do you also believe it indicates that people believe Joe Biden is the anti-Medicare for all candidate? And if he is, Nick, why are these professional managerial class people telling us to support him? He will be the easiest risk.
Because they don't give a fuck about any progress or change. This is one of the examples of the only campaign promise that Biden ever kept. You guys know what that one is? When he was talking to these investors and the business people, and he said nothing will fundamentally change. Remember when he said that?
Yeah.
They all understood that. Why you guys think Joe Biden had 100 plus billionaire donors, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, Bernie Sanders start talking about big money in politics. That they stopped talking about stuff soon, and they endorsed a guy with over 100 billionaire donors, more big money than Donald Trump and the Republicans. And the dumb left, because they are literally the dumbest people in political discourse. They will say stuff like, "Well, we got progressive promises from Joe Biden. Remember the progressive task force that we call bullshit on from day one? I call bullshit on from day one because I'm like, you guys really believe that it's capitalists who make a promise to you that is more binding than the capitalists who invest in his campaign, the big pharma that invests in his campaign, the weapon defense contractor that invests in his campaign. According to the real dumb left, you guys believe him pinky swearing to Bernie Sanders mean more than money in fucking politics, and the fact that he was bought out.
The reason they hate RBN is because Nick, you just dropped logic. But it's more than just dropping, hey, let me read. Yeah. It's like a logic that just bricks on your fucking head. Like you freaking, it makes you feel stupid the way you pointed out because you should.
That's why I get blocked a lot by these people. That's why so many of the old Bernie people hate me because I'm literally explaining to them why they're so dumb, and instead of acknowledging, they're like, "Oh, fuck, we'll block that grifter." Oh my god, Nick, social man, you want to help the Republicans because he calling us out for lying about Joe Biden. I said it at the time. I was telling people, I was like, bro, if you had Trump derangement syndrome and you're afraid of Trump and you want to vote for Joe Biden for that, just say that. Yes. Just say that. There was an epidemic where people was like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Biden because at least we can get some incrementalism. At least we can have a government that we are willing to fight. That was Voss told to me when we had our conversation.
Yeah. David Dole said that too.
It's like, just be fucking honest. You selling us out, you selling black people, you selling working class, you selling the global working class out in order to make yourself feel better. And at best, to give only you a layer of protection, which I think is completely antithetical of being a leftist, sacrificing.
But that's what the professional managerial class actually does. That's almost like their mantra, Nick.
Yep. Oh yeah, we're gonna vote for war criminals because I might get Medicare for all. I'm gonna vote for war criminals because they might cancel our student loan debt.
Like progressives are like medication. All this medication. Be like, hey, take this medication for athlete's foot. Side effects: you may vomit. You may be on the toilet for diarrhea. It's like what? It's like this is the trade-off. This is the trade-off you want me to give. But so yeah, the professional managerial class is like a bad side effect of teaming up. It is terrible. But let me throw this up here. JB was kind enough to break this news with us. Breaking news: Merrick Garland is appointing a special counsel to look into Biden mishandling of classified documents.
Let's transition to a segment because I wasn't sure if I was.
Yeah, that's good. We cool with that segment, Aaron. It's a very short segment. We're cool with that segment. Go ahead, Nick.
I have this. I was working on. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this yesterday or tomorrow, but I'm sure there's going to be so much updates I can always add to the story. So I'm actually going to make this a short story because this is on the Biden document thing, which is a story I have been loving. Are you guys loving this story? One of my favorite stories this year. So, well, actually, the year is young. My favorite story in the last 12 months is this one. Biden caught with classified documents. So for the last, how long has it been? I don't even know. Shit, we live in a fever dream. Was it been 6 months? 12 months? I forgot how long that liberals literally been melting down about Donald Trump having classified documents in his office, right? And my reaction to the story, the reason why I never even covered, how many segments we done this, CJ? 0. I didn't do no segments on this because That is literally one of the least interesting things to take Donald Trump down on. Like, it's pathetic, CJ. Donald Trump, a criminal, a war criminal, a serial liar, but you guys are taking him down on a technicality of him having secret documents. How weak does that make you? Like, I literally refuse to cover. I'm like, this is so weak. Even if he's guilty, he should be held accountable because I want ruling class members to be held accountable. But that's your big scoop after you failed Russiagate, after you failed with Stormy Daniels.
Think how they're trying to get workers to buy into that. That somehow we should be in up in arms about some paperwork, like some classified documents of an imperialist power at that. Like who? Like, I don't give a fuck. So, but that's what they're trying to, and along with this January 6th is the same sort of selling. It's the selling. Forget about inflation and gas and how all your money's going into Ukraine. Forget about that. What about this January 6th? What about this other thing? Go ahead, Nick, before I go into
Yeah, I have a video. I may do it on my next segment when I do this story, but I don't know if you guys been paying attention. The reason why I love this is that liberals have been melting down and twist themselves in a knot because it's like an oh fuck moment. Because for the last 6 to 12 months, once again, I literally forget. I don't remember when the whole Trump thing started, to be honest. But like for the last 6 to 12 months, they've been digging this hole, just digging this motherfucking hole. If you have classified documents without the government knowing, without informing people, you're done. You shouldn't be president. You should be in prison. They've been digging this hole. Just digging this motherfucker. If you have classified documents, it's over for you. You are corrupt. You are a criminal. Just digging. Now, Joe Biden was caught doing the same fucking thing. And CJ, I've been watching. I haven't. I'm gonna show you guys more receipts as this story continues to develop. But the way I saw Morning Joe today, I saw it on the TV, and that's how I got a clip. They was like, this is different for Trump. Oh my God, this is different because this reason. It's different for this reason. I'm gonna show you guys an example. The corporate media completely debased themselves on this story. Look, this is a tweet from CNN Politics. They got ratioed to death. Look at this. Apologia. Look, CNN. There are clear distinctions between the two classified document cases.
I saw that.
So essentially, they see literally everyone like, hold up. Joe Biden did the same thing as Donald Trump. So now every liberal corporate media, and I mean like Democrat apologia media, they've been all doing statements. Morning Joe literally did one this morning. They're like, oh, actually, what Biden did is not that bad. Oh my God, what Trump did is worse. And that's why this made no sense. Because everyone calling them out, they got ratio bad in this tweet. Look at their reasoning. They said, well, Joe Biden, he only had 12 illegal classified documents. Come on. And then they said, oh, only some of them are top secret, so it's not as bad. It's still illegal, you fucks. How is this a defense? And they said, unlike Donald Trump, he's cooperating. And lawyers found the alerted archives. Meanwhile, the FBI search found it. That means literally nothing in terms of what this story is about. And also, what literally everyone pointing out, the difference is Donald Trump as president can unclassify these documents. And that is the argument that the right wing has been using. They said, well, technically, yeah, Trump has secret documents, but he could declassify them. Joe Biden is not in that position to do that. He couldn't declassify documents. That was a lot of people saying vice president versus president. I suspect that's the real difference. And there's so many things that were leaving out. And then there was everyone saying that, yo, Donald Trump can technically declassify these documents if he wanted. Joe Biden could not do that. And you see everyone calling him out for this. Like, oh my God, you such fucking partisans. This guy say, oh my God, you killed journalism and murder independence. Because it's so obvious what they're doing. Doing everything they can to defend Joe Biden here. And this is the comment I was looking for. This guy said, you forgot to mention that the president can declassify documents while the vice president cannot. But of course you know this. You're lying on purpose. So many great comments. Look, this is a pretty fat ratio. And I'm sure a lot of those are right-wingers, but I don't think that really matter here. Now, I'm going to show you guys this press conference because this is a very short story of Biden floundering in this press conference. Because now the liberal media is they are forced to ask this question. I like this comment. This is a good comment.
Yeah,
he didn't saw 10 people. He only saw 3. That's the same argument that liberals used to use when they're like, Trump is a sexual assault. Man, he got 30 women that accused him of sexual assault. We like, Joe Biden got 8. And they
that was the example I was just about to use, but yes, same thing.
Let me go back to that graphic. The whole thing, this whole graphic is them saying, yeah, technically what Biden did was illegal, but it wasn't as bad as Trump because it was less. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden murdered someone, but Donald Trump murdered 15 people. He only murdered one person. That's the argument they're making. They're like 160 plus secret. You see how they use the plus? Then when they talk about Joe Biden, they say under 12. You guys see that? You guys see that propaganda? Oh, it's under 12. 160 plus. Some of them talking to secret, so some of them are illegal. They are in shambles, son. And the last thing I'm gonna share on this segment, because once again, this is a really quick segment, just because of that comment I saw. This is Biden at the press conference asked about this, and he's been caught out for it because, according to the story, the reason why Biden is in trouble for this story is because he didn't have the classified documents in a locked up place. Like, this is reported. It wasn't locked up. Joe Biden goes out and lies, and he get caught out for it. Look at this.
Mr. President, okay. Classified material next to your Corvette. What were you thinking?
Let me. I'm going to get a chance to speak on all this, God willing, soon. But as I said,
his Corvette. This is like.
And by the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay, so it's not like you're sitting out in the street. So but anyway, was in a locked garage. Yes, as well as my Corvette. But as I said earlier this week, people know I take classified documents and classified material seriously.
Apparently not seriously enough. Watching this guy.
The Democrats are a clown show. They're a clown car.
And I told you the reason why this is funny, because I personally do not give a fuck about classified documents. I don't laugh at these people who dig this grave saying how having declassified documents is the worst thing. Like, if you watch more than Joe's segments, if you see a segment that Rachel Maddow done like I have done, they pretend Trump doing this was as bad as the worst thing they ever accused him of. They're like, this is why he's a traitor. He had classified documents. He might be traitor to the Russians. Who knows? Now the right wing is currently doing the same thing with Joe Biden as the liberals did. Because now the right wing said, oh my God, Biden had classified documents. It proves that he was selling secrets to China and Ukraine. That's serious. Do you see the parallels here? You guys see how both parties use the same technique and the same trick? Because they're the same fucking thing. If my point is not clear. I'll play a little bit more. We don't watch the whole thing. This is a short segment. I'll play a little bit more.
And I'm gonna play a little bit of the Joe Scarborough segment. I found it.
Oh yeah, I'm glad he found a clip from them, because they are the ones. I tell you guys, I watched them more than anyone else, because they was the ones melting down on Trump documents the most. And I saw their coverage this morning. Hopefully there are a clip somewhere online of it where they had this guy who was fumbling, struggling to explain why this is different. And when you hear it, it makes no fucking sense. Their argument essentially is, yeah, Biden is a less criminal than Trump. Anyway, I'll play this just a few more of this, then I'll pass to you.
Also said we're cooperating fully and completely with the Justice Department's review.
And what does that mean? CNN put down on the thing as well. If you murder someone, if you do something illegal, that isn't better just because you cooperate with them. Like, if I stole someone's car and then the police came like, oh, I'm gonna cooperate, so you should give me a lighter sentence. It doesn't work that way. So why do they keep bringing that up like it fucking matters? But anyway, let's continue.
As part of that process, my lawyers reviewed other places where documents from my time as vice president were stored, and they finished the review last night.
Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention when I was covering this story, and actually I in the Biden part here, is that they found classified documents before, because this is the first time I'm covering, so I'm explaining this. They found classified documents earlier. So then liberals was like, oh, come on, man, not that big of a deal. Then they found some more at another location. That's why Biden's being forced to discuss this. So it's funny, just like we said, Biden, just like Trump, they all incompetent. They all do things that technically illegal and procedurally. It's just who's the best at weaponizing it? Who the best at exposing the other team corruption? That's what this all is. That's why this story was amazing to me. But go ahead.
Let me bring up the Joe Scarborough segment. So this is when me recording these on my DVR comes in handy.
I think this is the dude. I think that's the guy. We see.
Yeah, so from what I listened, at least they talk about it. I don't know if it's the same exact segment you saw, but they do talk about the classified.
Actually, I don't think it is, because I think the one I saw was later in the show. So I see it's early. So anyway, I want to see what anyway.
Tell me what. Hold on.
No, it's gonna be pretty long. We watch this first, and we can do a segment later, maybe if I can find it. Because
in your segment, do they show this? Where they show the same sort of comparison?
Oh no, it might
versus.
It might. I do.
Yeah, this must
either
be
either it is or they show that twice. Because I remember I was watching the last hour. So anyway, let's play this and let's see.
Oh, you know what they do the last hour? They replay the first hour.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
If you that all they do is replay the first hour. So let's listen.
It's when you're talking about investigations. The Biden team finds it. They immediately notify the DOJ. They return the documents, Willie, take care of it immediately. Trump fights for a year and a half. I mean, I know Josh Hawley's not stupid. I mean, I think he's one of those Yale boys.
Yale boys. Oh, sorry.
I think he's one of those Ivy League boys. So I know he's not stupid. Lindsey certainly knows that there's a huge difference too. A year and a half. That Trump lied, his lawyers lied, they fought, they hid the documents, they moved the documents the day after the DOJ called, the FBI called, the whole thing. They were dragging their feet. They were clearly trying to obstruct.
So if you don't see the headline, I'll let it keep playing and I'll read the head.
It's over.
Notify them.
The headline says,
as you said, Joe, it's amazing.
We can still hear it though,
still going to the mat
go ahead.
Donald Trump.
We can still hear
everything that he has wrought upon the party and all the elections.
I guess, Willie.
They're digging in deeper on it.
It says GOP senators call for special counsel to investigate Biden's handling of.
And they got it now. According to that shot too, they got it.
Lindsey Graham, Marco.
Okay, so now I'll turn it back up so you can hear it slightly better, and then because I just want to get to where they get to that same chart that you show, because they show that on here also.
Rubio, you can go down the list. Josh Hawley, we're dismissive of the Mar-a-Lago document case. Remember, they said, well, it was the FBI kicked open the door. It was a raid. Oh, it's a document storage issue. You guys need to get over it. Lindsey Graham said there are going to be riots in the street if you come after Donald Trump about any of this stuff. God. And now, Jonathan Lemire, they're deeply, deeply concerned about the storage of classified documents, which, by the way, is very important. But the hypocrisy on display is stunning.
Yeah, that's what this is right now. This is extraordinary hypocrisy. Republicans are downplayed.
They're saying this is extraordinary hypocrisy, which is what we're doing. But they're not talking about, they're talking about the hypocrisy on the Republicans. For now, you care about this. That's what they're calling out as hypocrisy, not the hypocrisy we're calling out from the Democratic Party and Joe Biden, who set themselves up, like you said. They've been saying demonizing, and now this happened. So let's listen to some more.
And like I see one of the comments that said that it literally works both ways. Then, like basically saying it works both ways. Like the red blue game was
found at Mar-a-Lago, and now trying to amp this one up. And certainly these are not equal. There's the apples and oranges was the phrase we used yesterday. That is still very appropriate today, even after discovery.
It's plain, dude.
Documents
it's
don't know much yet about
it.
So I don't know if you know this.
Go ahead, CJ.
There was a second batch of documents discovered. So the first batch, and then the news came out, classified documents. Another batch has been found. So go ahead, Nick, with your commentary.
This is like the third or fourth time in this segment alone where they say, "Well, come on, man, it's clearly different," and then they just move on and don't explain it. That's propaganda. So have you guys noticed that? It's just me. They literally said it like 3 times without ever explaining why it's different, because they're not here to inform. They here to explain to liberal boomers, you are here to tell the people that this is different. This is different. This is different. It's different than Trump. Different than Trump. Different than Trump. It's about getting this in your head. They literally so many times. So let's keep playing. Let's see if they ever gave a good explanation. Because that's part they're just trying to train their audience at this point. Unbelievable propaganda.
How classified might they be? Where were they found? When were they found? We do know that the president's team, after discovering the batch at the Penn Center in D.C., his aides and lawyers started looking at other locations just to make sure that they found anything else. And if so, then turn it over to the National Archives, Department of Justice. That is the right and responsible thing to do. Now, Is there some grumbling from Democrats the last few days, some worries about this? Yes, of course there are. And there are questions to the White House as to why the president or press secretary weren't more forthcoming this week when they were asked about the first batch. Well, why not talk about the second batch, which had already been discovered at that point? So there's going to be some cleanup here the White House is going to have to do.
He just dismantled his own argument. It's shot. Well, hold on, real quick. I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe you just said that. Rewind it. Use that 15-second rewind. Listen to what he just said. He just dismantled his entire argument. Hopefully, I'm right here because I remember he said, well, the reason why this is different is because Biden and them was more cooperative with the investigation. And then he later explained how, Democrats had criticism because Biden should have been honest about the second batch because they had to find the second batch. It's not like Biden was like, oh, we got all these documents. So they lied. So in his own argument, he debunks the fact that Biden was being complicit with the investigation because if he was, they wouldn't be fighting second and third.
Second and third batch. Because he says it right there. He says, why not mention the second batch when you mentioned the first? Because they had already found it. Go ahead.
He wasn't. So based on your argument, you made corporate media head. Doesn't that show that he wasn't going along with the investigation like you guys said he was? If he's lying, see, if you don't watch corporate media. If you're mind decolonized, finding these like lies and logical errors is very easy. But I can't imagine the average morning Joe enjoyer, the boomer liberal, and watching this as like, yeah, man,
eating it up like Cheerios, eating it up like Cheerios.
Or press secretary weren't more forthcoming this week when they were asked about the first batch. Well, why not talk about the second batch, which had already been discovered at that point? So there's going to be some cleanup here the White House is going to have to do, but these are two very different situations.
Do some cleanup.
And it does.
You see how they describe it? Now. I mean, just real quick, you can play. You see how they describe it? Oh, the White House got some cleaning up to do. Would they ever use that to talk about Trump crimes? Oh, man, Trump just got some cleanup to do, man. Let's continue. This is so unbelievable.
Trying to equate them.
Here he goes, right
here. We're seeing on the case here the split screen between the two. And right now, the White House continues to cooperate and have said that they will do whatever the Department of Justice requires them to put this matter to bed.
Yeah, I mean, it may not work on the face of it, on the legality of it, on the facts of this, but of course, Republicans feel like they've just been handed this massive Christmas present belatedly.
Feel like no, they have.
They are going to make.
See, the Republicans win on this no matter what, right? Because it shows that they are being hypocrites for going after Trump, and they can attack Biden on this. Like, I'm thinking like non-biasedly because obviously I don't care about the Republican Party, but it's literally an objective fact that this is great for Republicans. Now, right after they took the committees, CJ, now they're going to be investigating this all year. This is a giant win for Republicans.
On top of Hunter Biden. Yes. On top of freaking Dr. Fauci. Like,
yeah, but they are doing propaganda. Click the 15-second button again. And you see shit. Well, some Republicans perceive this as a win. No, it's definitely a win because you guys are incompetent. Let's continue.
When she says something, she means all.
Requires them to put this matter to bed.
Yeah, I mean, it may not work on the face of it, on the legality of it, on the facts of this, but of course, Republicans feel like they've just been handed this massive Christmas present belatedly because they are going to make hay out of this, and it does play to a perception in the Republican base, particularly the Trump base, that he and Republicans in general, but he and specifically, is treated differently by the Department of Justice, by the media, by the deep state, whatever that is,
and you're literally showing that.
And so.
Right. There's a perception that Biden is treated by the media as we continue to treat him completely different on the same story. This is a comment by Salty Granny that I didn't catch. They don't even mention that it's been kept a secret for 2 months.
Yes.
The same way that a lot of people will point out, they don't mention the fact, and there are people who criticize the Republican response to that, and that's fair enough. But the Republican response to Trump is, yeah, Trump as president could declassify the document, so it's not that big of a deal. Biden did not have that power. Whether you buy I think you don't have to believe the Republicans when they say that. You see the difference. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they hide that from their audience as well. This is why I told you guys, Morning Joe is propaganda worth analyzing because you see how seamless and how effective they are being at programming and training the boomer liberal mind. But go ahead, CJ.
Here we go.
So they are going to milk this one. And there are some legitimate questions. You know, some of these documents concerned, we understand, Ukraine, the United Kingdom, Iran and Ukraine in particular, sensitive.
Are they trying to hand this Hunter Biden story? Anything where Ukraine classified, why you have it? That's a reason to have the Hunter Biden. Like, what is this guy doing? And you were vice president. You can't make this up. It's almost like a Benny Hill show. Music should just play in the background for the Biden presidency. They're that stumbling over themselves, sort of stupid. Yep. Let's listen.
Topics, of course, and it would be, I think, in the White House's interest to clear up those outstanding questions, because they are hampered by the fact that they didn't reveal this information as soon as they had it. And while those questions linger, they are going to be distracted by those questions. We are quite understandably going to ask them those questions, as we should do. And the sooner that they can answer those questions in a way that is satisfactory, they can move on. And then the differences between these two cases, which are evident and clear, and all the Republican leadership knows it, the differences between these two cases, Joe, will...
What the letdown is that, and I know you're going, Nick, but what the letdown is that how are they going to persuade 51 plus Americans to believe in their classified document story in order to get Trump not to run again? Now this literally just goes and blows a freaking hole. Exactly. Because all they're going to get now is the same people they got for January 6th, which is the same people that's already on your team.
Yep.
Now you just made it not persuadable for anybody else but the people that you already have with this. And that's the disappointment. They're like, oh, damn. Our plans to get rid of Trump has failed again.
and guys, if you want some homework, look at watch how these people cover the story. Like we just showing one, but I've seen like this anguish that this white woman has.
Anguish.
It's the anguish that all these liberal commentators that have been. It's almost like they were given an assignment. You know what I mean? Like they enjoy doing the Trump Russiagate shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they enjoy doing the Ukraine shit. They were given an assignment, like, damn, Biden fucked up bad guy. We gotta come out and clean this shit up. So really, and I don't know if I'm the only one who feel it, but when I see these people, when I see her, when I see the last guy, when I see every single liberal I see talk about this, there's like an anguish in this, like, fuck, man. I already know people. We gotta get some people. I already know a lot of people not gonna buy this shit, man.
Jonathan Lemire, the other two white guys that they had on Morning Joe talking, the ones that was defending him, the anguish you saw in him. Yes, I saw anguish in his voice and his eyes. Like, damn,
there's a different energy. I remember seeing them cover the Republicans failing to get the red wave. Like when they were doing those segments about like all the Republicans struggling.
They were like, cheers.
It was glowing. Like, yeah, what happened to that red wave, nigga? We ain't got no red wave. Yeah, see, this happened when you brought down
margaritas.
Compare that energy to the energy that's shown this segment. It's literally night and day to me, at least. Go ahead.
All right, we'll listen a few more seconds, and then we'll get to the Anna Kasparian TYT story.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, let's do that.
Will be actually more clear to the public because there won't be these lingering, shadowy questions about it.
Well, exactly. I think the best thing for everybody is investigate all of it out there. Investigate everything, because when you investigate it, American people are going to see very clearly the massive differences between the two. So air it all out. The Biden administration should be as transparent.
Massive.
Joe Scarborough,
before the investigation, he knows it's massive. Go ahead, Nick.
Joe Scarborough is really relying on the fact that his audience has a short attention span and short memory, because this is the guy who I literally showed you guys had a meltdown when Republicans was suggesting investigating the FBI. And then you guys see what he just said right now? He said, yeah, we should investigate everything. We should all leave it out there. But we can't investigate the FBI, according to you. This guy's ideology literally has him in a pretzel. Like, he constantly contradicts himself. So go ahead, CJ.
All right. Here we go.
Especially considering the contrast with Donald Trump, who hid the documents, who moved the documents after the FBI called, who lied to the DOJ, who lied to the FBI about returning all of the documents. As Coral Rove said, it took a year and a half. Yeah, let's air all this out, Lindsay. Let's air all this out, Mr. Manhood. Let's air all of this out, Kevin. It's not.
You see her on the left? She's like, this is so fun. This Hassan's hanging out with my man. I'm hanging out with my man. He's saying some crazy shit. We about to get these checks. That's literally like she laughs sometimes at when he's speaking, and they have to cut away from her from a wide shot because she is looking at him like, wow, this guy is good at this propaganda stuff right here.
No, she's so turned on. Like she is like that's why they hooked up, man. Like they wasn't together. They did this show. They saw Joe Scarborough do some propaganda, and she got immediately turned on. Like I've never seen anyone apologize for this like this. The way
he probably doesn't get flowers to her. He sends her a propaganda video.
Dude, he is drenched right now. Listen to this.
Man, this is crazy. All right. So after that, let's listen to a couple of seconds more, and then we'll end this.
Can I go well for you? And again, here's the thing. I keep trying to tell you this, okay?
But they know it.
I'm trying to tell you this as a conservative and a former Republican that have seen you guys destroy the party. The party that, by the way, I was a member of and running it off as far before a lot of you guys were like, you know,
finishing Yale,
finishing Yale or your other Ivy League school.
I got to stop there.
Yeah, Brent.
Or he was going to say you guys were like in Pampers. She said you guys were in Yale. Like with no hesitation. Not Cal State Long Beach. Right. Not Cal State LA. You guys were in Yale. Like just that.
Brent says this is a comment. He said, I definitely understand why you find this irritating, Nick. And this, like I laugh at these people, and this is like an eye to how dumb. Like I'm not only laughing at them, I'm laughing at their audience. Like it's unbelievable that this works on people. And I think when you see this propaganda, you break it down, and that's why we do these segments. So I think there's value because then you learn how people get these opinions. You see people repeat stupid shit, like people repeat Russiagate, and also I would see these channels. And then you will show me a clip from Sanseed or TRT. That's why I'll be like, bro, I swear to God, I saw them say this on MSNBC. So it's important to break this stuff down so you can see how people get in these dumb train of thoughts. And it's also funny to laugh at these dumb people to me. But anyway,
it's good that I sift through all the independent pseudo media and you sift through all the corporate, because we both can come together and be like, that's on corporate, that's on independent, look at this crap. Like that's a good thing. I think we can wrap it there and move to the I think this is probably the story du jour here, because a lot of people don't know how fun and funny this segment is going to be as we pull back the curtain on how the left. But it really illustrates, Nick, it really, this is going to illustrate how the left is being pulled to the right when it comes to war, because we have people like this guy that she's interviewing, and he's labeled as the left. He's labeled as the left person in this. You're a Bernie Sanders advisor, so that means you must believe in Medicare. No, he doesn't believe any of that at all. Pretty much.
Really I'm gonna let the video play, but not
go ahead.
Really a neocon that infiltrated the Bernie movement, and that says everything you know about Bernie Sanders. And once again, I can make fun of myself. I swear to God, if I knew about Mac Dust back then, I would have been asking more questions. Before when I was on the Bernie campaign. Totally. These are things I should have looked into. I admit that. Like if I knew about Mac Dust, that would have been a huge hang up for me. But now I learned about this guy recently. I see his take on Ukraine. Every time I see this guy, he is repeating not only just liberal talking points, but neocon talking points. Like the next level. But let's continue the video. You guys see what we're talking about. And
yeah, so look,
let's put this up. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it.
Wow. It's not that long. And then I also have the other, because what I want to do is show this video, and then we're going to show the other side of Matt Dust, because he tries to clean it up because he knows his audience. Clean it up here versus Democracy Now. I have a couple of short clips to just show some of his bad takes coming up next. But first, everybody, I must say we're at 346 likes. Let's push, please. Oh, it's not that one. This one. Let's push to 400. So that's merely 50 more people hitting that like button. 50 more people hit that like button, and you'll get us to 400 subscribers. I'm sorry, 400 likes. Join the Substack. Last shout out for that. And then our subscriber count, let's keep that going. I think we've added like 20 people since we've been on stream. 10 people since we've been on stream. All right, so let's get into this main event segment here where TYT, maybe they don't know, Nick, that they're talking to a neocons, but let's listen.
Joining us now is Matt Duss, former foreign policy advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders, who recently co-authored a fantastic piece in the New Republic titled "A Better Biden Doctrine." 2 years in, how well has Biden kept his 2020 promises on foreign policy? It's an excellent piece. I highly recommend everyone read it, but I also highly recommend you stick around.
Now, you know, we're going to have to go and read it and figure out how it's garbage and it's not an excellent piece when we go over there and it's laced with neocon talking points and NATO talking points. We know that's what's going to happen, but go ahead, Nick, if you had anything.
I literally, Noam Chomsky wrote and he explained how Joe Biden's foreign policy is just like Trump. Literally the same. Like, he doubled down on Donald Trump's hardline stance against Iran. He completely rewritten Chinese trade policy. He gave Israel more money. He continued literally all these policies that was staples of Donald Trump. Now he expanded Title 42. He expanded on all his sanctions. Like, everything he did. So I ain't read the article yet, but it better say that. He's talking about Biden's foreign policy. If it does not say that Biden's foreign policy is just like Donald Trump, the article is trash.
Oh, he kind of gives it away in this interview here, and let's listen.
Around for this great interview.
I can't see you. Let me know when you wanted to stop.
Featuring Matt Duss. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to come speak with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Anna.
I really enjoyed your piece because I think it was such a great, comprehensive, almost like a report card on how the Biden administration has performed foreign policy-wise. And it really is a mixed bag. I think there are areas where I think the Biden administration has actually significantly
mixed bag. You can keep playing that literally
significantly improved upon what we experienced under Obama's administration. But there are some weak spots. So before I get to the weak spots, before we even get to Ukraine and all of that,
there's some spots. Just some little spots.
I explained before, nigga, Joe Biden's foreign policy is what makes him one of the worst presidents ever, because that is what he controls. Everything he did, all his campaign promises, foreign policy-wise, he has broken. He has broken all of them. I'm already getting triggered. This is crazy. Let's keep playing. This is unbelievable.
I do want to just kind of ask you, where do you think Biden has actually done well and improved from the Obama era?
Why is that your question?
Right, and I think
why is that your question? You can ask this guy anything, but look at TYT. Their question is, tell me how Democrats are good, sir. That's the lead. That's the lead. Remember how we explained these content creators? CJ, these content creators know people who listen to the first few minutes. Most people, that's what they do. So what you lead with? Tell me why Joe Biden's good. Tell our audience why we should continue to like Democrats. Let's continue. Oh, Jesus, fuck.
The approach that my co-author Stephen Wertheim and I took here was.
Oh man, that is a softball question she gave him, but even that softball question, listen to what he says here. I forgot about this. I thought this was later in the conversation, but listen to his answer to that, even that softball question.
Co-author Stephen Wertheim and I took here was to not talk about what do we think the ideal, not to measure the Biden administration and against what we think would be kind of the progressive ideal. It was to hold them to commitments and goals that they themselves.
Bruh.
You heard him say that?
Bruh.
So
I have no word.
So the threshold of analysis is not based on your beliefs in progressive policy. No. It's based on what the imperialist told you he's gonna do, whether he followed through on that. I don't understand. I don't understand how this is a progressive advisor. This is a left advisor. I don't get that.
This is the boutique left. This is the guy that Anna gave a glowing review of. You see their priorities of the white left? Oh, we don't need a progressive foreign policy. We just need you guys to do a little better, like you said you would. To do a little better, like you said. Because they don't care about the consequences of Biden's foreign policy. Like, this is deeply offensive. They essentially saying, "Oh yeah, Biden is like what Trump did," but he's marking this as a highlight. Let's continue. I already know I'm gonna have a lot more to say, so I'm gonna just keep it going.
Yeah,
this is
laid out on the campaign trail in the Democratic Party platform in 2020, and see how all that's going. And I think one of the things that is really significant, and we mentioned this in the piece, is first of all, there has been a break from the era of neoliberalism. I think if you look at Biden's speech to Congress back, I think it was April 2021.
His speech. He quoted his speech. He said this is the end of the era of neoliberalism because of Biden's speech. That's what he just said. Because of the words he said, neoliberalism is dead. But despite the fact that weapon defense contractors are making record profits because of Biden's war, because his unhinged foreign policy. He ended the war in Iraq, pulled out the troops, but he increased the military budget. How is this not neoliberalism?
Of course, wow. Anna, when he's done with his answer, Anna's going to say, "Excuse me, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about." Of course she's going to do that, but let's see if she actually does that.
Really a remarkable speech, because it essentially said, the old Washington consensus is over. The American government, the U.S. government will now be spending money to take care of the American people. We're going to be investing in our communities. The old idea that you just cut taxes and that promotes.
Wait,
does he not know they just sent $100 billion to Ukraine? Does he not know that happened?
I don't know if I misheard it. Is he being sarcastic? I'm literally asking.
He is not being sarcastic, Nick. I will rewind it, Nick.
Please play that.
He is being serious. He is being serious.
I'm literally in shock over what I just heard. This is shocking.
Let me a little bit more. I'll rewind it back. Here we go.
It's really a remarkable speech because it essentially said, the old Washington consensus is over. The American government, the U.S. government will now be spending money to take care of the American people. We're going to be investing in our communities. The old idea that you just cut taxes and that promotes growth and everyone benefits. Like, a lot of these old economic arguments are over. And I think that's really important, because that's a shift that we did not see from Obama. A lot of the old economic logic, both domestically and
like, the reason why I wanted to hear more, because I was thinking, like, yeah, he said those things, but he didn't do it. You know what I mean? Biden gave a speech where he said he's gonna focus more on the American people instead of investing in wars, but he didn't actually do that. I was expecting that turnaround. He never gives it. His argument, after responding to Anna, begging him to tell him something good about Democrats. Man, the first question was, Anna was like, "Come on, tell me something good about Biden. Whisper sweet nothings in my ear about the Democrat Party." And his response is a speech that lying Joe Biden gave. This is worse than I could possibly imagine. She said, "I'm literally I cannot believe this. This was Bernie Sanders' foreign policy advisor."
This is worse than possibly I imagined.
I can't even believe this. It's unbelievable.
Oh man, let's listen.
Let's see how low they sink.
Globally sort of held under Obama. And so I think that is kind of one of the key underpinnings of the Biden administration's approach, is, whether it comes to trade, whether it comes to, with the CHIPS Act or the IRA. A few other things I would mention. There's, at least, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I have I don't know if it's a provocative question.
Oh, she's going to say, "What the hell are you talking about, sir? All of this is wrong." Because she said it's a provocative question, right? Provocative. Let's see what her provocative question is.
She puts back here.
In response to what you just said.
We like those. Yes.
But I am curious, I've heard Senator Sanders say on multiple occasions that he's genuinely friends with Biden. I'm wondering how much of an influence Senator Sanders has had on President Biden on the issue of neoliberalism.
Oh my God.
Nick, I almost want to just say, let's call this, because I didn't get this far. She is saying some outrageous stuff. So what I typically do, I'll watch a few minutes in the beginning, I'll watch a few minutes at the end, and then I leave the chunk for the surprise. I can't believe she interrupted him to say, because so she's buying it. So she's buying what Matt is saying, that neoliberalism is gone. And Joe Biden said it. And now she's saying, is it gone? Because Bernie Sanders.
Oh my God. Oh my God. When you explain that way, that's what's happening. This is unbelievable. Like, I'm literally looking down on all the TYT. And how do you watch? How did anyone who considers left watch this? He gave you bullshit war salad that I would destroy this man. For one, he mentioned trade. He said Biden invested more in trade. He just rewrote the entire trade policy with China. The same thing, like when Donald Trump put tariffs on China, people will say he's unhinged, that he's going to destroy the global work class. Biden is taking it to the next level. This guy is Bernie Sanders' foreign policy advisor, and he knows nothing about fucking foreign policy. And then he literally lies, spread some bullshit in the beginning of the video, and Anna was like, "Oh my God, so wide." I got a follow-up question: Is this because of Bernie Sanders?
I'm serious. All right, let's get back. Let's get back.
A question in response to what you just said.
We like those. Yes.
But I am curious, I've heard Senator Sanders say on multiple occasions that he's genuinely friends with Biden. I'm wondering how much of an influence Senator Sanders has had on President Biden on the issue of neoliberalism.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a good question. And I think it's, yes, he does have a relationship going back many years with Joe Biden from their time in Congress and their, together. And also as, the second place finisher in the 2020 Democratic primary. I think the Biden team, made a very good faith effort in reaching out to the Sanders team, to me personally, and to some of my colleagues who worked on the Sanders campaign and engaged with us.
You were making,
but I think it's beyond
Wait. So is your intention to drag Bernie down with you? So what did he just say? He said Biden made good faith efforts to reach out to Bernie in his office, which I do not believe in 1 second. But if that is true, you are throwing Bernie Sanders under the bus, sir. Because what most people assumed after witnessing Biden's administration is that, Biden completely ignored Bernie. He completely not listened to the progressive base. He's doing his own fucking bullshit. So if you say that Biden is reaching out to Bernie and he is still making the decisions he's making, what does that say about Bernie?
That's worse.
So he reached out. So Biden, according to Matt Duss, reached out to Bernie Sanders, and now they're sending more weapons to the apartheid state of Israel. How does that make sense? You guys see the problem here? So your answer actually throws Bernie under the bus. You bullshitting so hard, you accidentally made Bernie look bad. Because now, what you're saying is true. If I was to believe what you said, Biden arming Nazis in Ukraine and escalating war with Russia and China, he had a conversation with Bernie about that. And he listened. Unbelievable. Let's continue.
All right, let's do it. Oh man,
this is the worst
relationship. Bernie Sanders he is part of a movement. I mean, his slogan in 2020 was "Not me, us," and I think that is very much what he continues to represent in the party, in the country, and also when he talks to Biden. So he can speak for a number of values and policies and principles. But I think it is to to Joe Biden's credit and to his team's credit and his administration's credit that they've continued. They recognize that this is an increasingly influential and well mobilized and well organized force within the Democratic Party. I mean, the progressive movement on a whole range of issues. And they have engaged with it and considered their ideas and brought some of them on board, not all of them. Mm-hmm. But I think you can clearly look at the platform from 2020 and clearly look at the way they talked about a lot of these issues since then and chart the influence of the progressive movement.
One of the things that Biden has done, and it really hasn't gotten much attention.
Here we go. I'm going to rewind.
Aaron just cut a segment from what we did earlier, the stream, where we said, the segment was Anna Kasparian cultivates a dumb left.
Yes.
And this video is literally the perfect example for this. They are saying all this stuff, and I'm asking you guys this question. After what Matt Duss just said, did he give you any examples? Not one example. He was saying, Bernie is a great influence on Biden. They really have these great conversations. I think Biden really turned against neoliberalism. Zero examples given. Meanwhile, I rage quoted so many examples of Biden not doing that, but they're just doing this segment fat free. But Anna Kasparian and TYT is literally just vibes. They're the left that just operates on vibes. We're gonna say that Biden is influenced by Bernie. He ended the age of neoliberalism. Is there any facts that back that up? Nah, it just feels good to say, doesn't it? Like, I ain't lie. This video probably triggered me more than he showed me in a long time. But let's continue.
And chart the influence and of the progressive movement.
You know, one of the things that Biden has done, and it really hasn't gotten much attention, I think by design, I think the Biden administration wants this, is the rollback of the expanded drone war that we saw both under the Obama administration and the Trump administration. Now, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a reason why the Biden administration is avoiding any type of public bragging about that. And it might be because there's this fear that Republicans will give them a tough time.
Right. I think, that's exactly right. I mean, let's just draw back. I think one of the main kind of the approach to foreign policy from the Biden administration generally is they want to spend as little time as necessary fighting about foreign policy, and that does make some sense. They want to focus on delivering, goods for the American people. They've got other priorities. Foreign policy certainly needs to be one.
They got other priorities, but we're not gonna list them. This whole conversation, they are giving you no details, no facts. Biden he focuses on he focuses on the American people, provide for the American people. What's your example? None. He just says it. No examples. Go ahead, CJ.
The point we make in the piece is, while yes, we recognize there have been a number of steps the administration has taken that are very good on the war on terror, like the diminishing of drone strikes is a very important one. And again, going back to what I said earlier about the influence of the progressive movement on this administration, ending forever wars is an agenda item that the progressive movement generated, that Senator Sanders adopted along with a number of other candidates in the 2020 primary, and that the Biden administration took on board. But the downside of doing these things without fanfare, which they're doing for exactly the reasons you said, because they don't want to have to put up a target that could attract.
To expose how fucking evil these people are, for lack of a better term. So they're essentially saying, we were praising Joe Biden because he drone strike less people than Donald Trump. That's their bar. What they're not telling people is this story right here. Well, I covered this. Joe Biden launched a drone. Oh wait, did they change my receipt? Hold on, let me make sure. Oh, what the hell? Here it is.
When you click on it, it takes you somewhere else.
It said today marks the 1-year anniversary of the U.S. drone strike in Kabul, Afghanistan, that killed an aid worker and his family. Joe Biden was launching drone attacks in Afghanistan, one that killed someone's entire family. But they apply lesser to evilism, despite that Biden has killed people with drone strikes, which I think this is an impeachable offense if you're really anti-imperialist. But instead of acknowledging and calling out Biden for the people he has killed with a drone strike, they said, well, Biden rolled back drone strike compared to Donald Trump, which is true. But what the fucking point of bringing this lesser to evil bullshit when he drone strike and killed an entire family? You see how they have no value? There's no value given to people's lives? Oh yeah, we should praise Joe Biden because he's drone striking people slightly less than Donald Trump. Unbelievable.
So let's see now you heard, I mean, as if that video wasn't bad. Like you thinking like, oh, well, he said some good things. Let me see what's the bad stuff. He says even worse stuff in this. And I mean, I'm just going to play a couple of snippets, 2 sections where he speaks.
I don't know. I might have to go back and watch that video later because I'm very interested in seeing.
No, I'm going to go. No, I want to play this and then I'm going to go. Then I'm gonna go back to that video to prove the point that I'm trying to make.
I'm wondering, do you know they talk about Ukraine and
yes,
Matt Duss?
That's why I want to get this Ukraine part in so you can hear what he says in Ukraine and the other. So yes, you blew my surprise, but
my bad.
No, you'll still be surprised by what he says. So let's listen to this other video. I'm just gonna play maybe 2 minutes in one section and then another section, just so we can get what he here says about the Ukraine, and then we're going to go back to the video so we can hear what he says on there about Ukraine.
I'd like to bring in Matt Doss on this issue. Matt, as a foreign policy advisor to Bernie Sanders, famously an advocate for peace, not war. What is your perspective on the how this war can end, and also the issue of how it began?
Right. I mean, well, thank you for having me, first of all. I would say the easiest way for this war to end would be for Vladimir Putin to end his invasion and withdraw Russian troops from Ukrainian territory. As far as how this war began, I mean, there's certainly a lot of things we could bring in to describe, the deteriorating U.S.-Russia relationship over the past decades and longer. But just to focus on this issue of NATO, which was brought up just earlier, certainly Vladimir Putin has brought up the concern about NATO. This is not something just he.
And I didn't bring this point up last time. We did this segment before. Why is he? Because the other guy he's debating, the CIA analyst, he says a lot of stuff, but why does Matt zero in on the point about NATO? I need to get this clear about NATO for everybody, your audience watching. Like he zero ins on that particular point. And let's listen to what he says. Why does he zero in on the NATO point?
He has brought up, other Russian officials have brought it up in the past. I think it's fair to say that some of the steps that were taken with regard to NATO could have been done differently. But this idea that Vladimir Putin has to wage this war because he sees an existential threat from NATO, I think has just been completely discredited by events. Let's remember, Finland and Sweden announced their decision to join NATO some months ago. Finland shares an 800-mile border with Russia. The response from the Russian government was basically, no big deal.
He's lying, sir. He's lying. And he is not the first person I've seen bring this up. I've seen this talking point said all the time. People keep saying, and I'll see if I can dig this. I already did a ton of reporting on this, where they say, well, they said that Finland and Sweden joined NATO. They say join NATO on the border is a red line, but they allow Sweden to do that. Why? That is false. This is one of those situations where NATO in the West called the bluff of Russia. I covered this story a while ago. Before Sweden and Finland was invited to NATO, Russia said, you absolutely cannot do this. If you guys do this, we're going to put a nuclear option on the table. Like we're serious. Do not invite Sweden and Finland to NATO or we will respond. And just like the United States and Taiwan and China, the United States called their bluff. So Russia said we were willing to go to nuclear war, global war because of Finland and Sweden. That was a bluff. The West called it out, and then they was like, fuck. Russia was like, fuck. Just like China. They're like, these people are crazy. These people are crazy. So they backed down for it. They're like, shit. We don't want to go nuclear war. We were just saying that just so they wouldn't do it. But they did it anyway because the United States think they can win a nuclear war. So Russia backed down. So the point he's making is that, they don't really care about NATO on the border. They did. They already conceded to the West. But the West keep pushing. They keep pushing for more. Why do you guys think Russia is going to war? Because no matter how much Russia gives, they keep taking. So he just flat out lies there. But let's continue the video. I want to see if I find it.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Was really contributing to the sense of existential threat here. We might have seen a bit of a different response to Finland joining NATO.
I just want to show you guys, since we're still on the thought, this is what I covered this last year. And everyone keep lying about this. This is why I really want to show you guys this. This is last April. A few weeks at the beginning of the conflict, right? Russia warns Finland, Sweden against NATO, raises nuclear threat. So Matt Duss said if they were really threatened by NATO, why they didn't do anything about Finland and Sweden? That's a fucking lie. The West called their bluff. Russia was bluffing the same way China was bluffing regarding Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan. But China and Russia and Iran as well, I'll throw them in the mix, they are forced to be the grown-ups in the room. So instead of throwing a tantrum and destroying the global working class and creating nuclear war, they're like, fuck, I guess we're going to turn full pussy and we're going to back down from this threat. So they back down from this threat, and now people like Matt Duss is saying, oh, well, if NATO was a big deal, why didn't do anything about Finland and Sweden? This is a psychopathic thing to say. That's psychopathic. Let's continue the video. I try to share
he's proven wrong right in the same segment. So let's listen.
And I'd like to ask you, Matt, in terms of that, though, clearly there's a far different relationship between Ukraine and Russia than there is between Finland and Russia. Clearly, Russia historically sees Ukraine as the entry point to previous invasions and attack on its country, whether it's Napoleon in the 19th century or Hitler and the Nazis in the 20th century. Your sense.
You remember when Anna Kasparian and this guy were having a conversation and there was no facts? This guy you're talking to, I remember when we covered it, I was like, yeah, I'm actually impressed with his follow-up questions, because then he brought up some facts that Matt Dutch was trying to lie about omission. And Matt Dutch said, no, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. You just see his facial expression, his body. That's him.
Because what he does, Matt, on the right, what he does requires you not to know information.
Absolutely.
So what he does is on purpose. He omits it, even though he knows it.
Yep.
Because he's trying to get you to go to a particular point. But when you engage with somebody that understands it, and people engage with you, Nick, and you bring up a point, it's like, oh yeah, I did know that. I was going to keep it out because I didn't want to sway the audience against my point. But now that you're bringing it up, I got to go ahead and acknowledge it. Yes. And that's what happens to this guy right here. Let's listen to his response to what he says.
Of Putin's view of the special relationship that has existed between Ukraine and Russia.
No, I think that's very fair to bring up. Clearly, there's a very different historical relationship between Russia.
It's fair to bring up, but I'm not.
And Putin himself has described his view of that relationship, which is that Ukrainians don't really exist. They are simply Russians. Certainly, Ukrainians do.
That's also him being simplistic about the situation. They're just y'all not in Ukrainians. You're all are Russians. Like that's the thing.
Disagree with that, and I think most of the people in the world would disagree with that. Ukraine is a different country. Ukraine has a different culture, a different history. Certainly, there is a historical relationship with Russia. But I think this also gets.
That's literally not true.
Yeah, they're a different country, different culture. Nigga, they used to be in the USSR. Zoya's life. She literally from the USSR, Ukraine. That's why she go on these shows and she exposed the truth about what happened, because she lived this shit. She literally went in USSR and Russia. Russia and Ukraine, they had long-held traditions where family used to cross the border all the time. They have an open culture. That's why you had around 40% of Ukrainians that spoke Russian.
Right.
It's a giant part of the culture. And Mac does like they're two completely different countries. This is like every 15 seconds I catch him lying.
Just lying.
It's not even it's not even like he said something I disagree with the point. He's lying. That's
why I said in our first stream when we covered this we covered this one. This guy has to be something else. There's no way just a random guy who's a leftist is telling lie after like these many lies that he is. Like every sentence is filled with like 3 or 4.
Doesn't this make you guys look at Bernie way more sus? Like I swear to God, I knew nothing about this guy. Like if I knew about this, I would be asking way more questions. Why do Bernie hire this guy as foreign policy advisor? I almost don't even want him losing anymore, because apparently if he won, this motherfucker would be charged.
This would have been a guy advising him.
We would still be arming Nazis in Ukraine. We will still be escalating war against China. What changes? I've been seriously asking myself these questions recently. This guy was Bernie Sanders' foreign policy advisor. Unbelievable. I feel sick. Because I support that campaign, knowing that this guy was foreign policy advisor. But let's continue, CJ.
Yeah, let me fast forward it to the second point he makes here, just for the sake of time, and then we're going to come back to the TYT video.
I'd like to ask Matt and possibly Ray also to respond to Europe is suffering much more as a result of the continuation of this war, both in terms of its having to redirect its energy sources.
So this is the Ukraine part, and then we're going to go back to the other ones for the Ukraine part.
Much higher inflation than exists here in the United States right now. There are some who view that Europe was dragged into this more by the United States in terms of the way it approached Russia and Putin in terms of Ukraine. Your response to that and to whether there are differences between how Europe sees this war and the United States?
I mean, I think there initially were. I mean, I think we saw the reports that European leaders were actually quite skeptical, as publicly were Ukrainian leaders of the prospect of a Russian invasion. The United States continued to say that the intelligence showed that Russia was preparing for an invasion, that the pieces were being moved into place for this invasion, and they turned out to be right. Mr. McGovern earlier brought up the Iraq War WMD's debacle, and I think certainly the Biden administration is quite aware of that record, and I think they have been very, very careful in the importance of rebuilding U.S. credibility when it comes to making these kinds of claims. And I think to their credit, the claims, the intelligence that they have made public all along the way has been affirmed repeatedly. Now, with regard to the European position, I think there were a lot of European countries, particularly Germany, that had a vision of much cooperation with Vladimir Putin, certainly on the issue of energy. But I think European leaders, based on observing Putin's own behavior, have come around to the U.S. view that of the threat that Putin poses and what this invasion of Ukraine could really mean, not just for Europe but for the world. Certainly, they are the ones who are facing much more immediate difficulty with regard to energy and food insecurity. The global South, as Amy mentioned early on, with regard to the agreement over grain export. This is a really good deal that's happening because certainly countries in the global South are bearing the brunt of this global food crisis as well. But just one last point here with Mr. McGovern brought up John Mearsheimer's comment about this war being the U.S.'s fault. I know John Mearsheimer. He is not, however, the Pope. He has a view. I think there are many eminent scholars who know Russia much better than John Mearsheimer does, who have a very different view of how we got here. So again, I think those views should be taken into account, and I would point people once again to what Vladimir Putin himself has said is the reason for this invasion, repeatedly, both in the written word and in speeches, and that in part is to reestablish what he believes to be Russia's historical rights, Russia's historical control of what he believes to be a kind of Russian imperium. So that's not to say that diplomacy isn't necessary. Diplomacy is necessary. I believe there is diplomacy ongoing right now, perhaps not at the high level that some would like to see. But we know that the U.S. Defense Secretary Austin has a line open with Russian Defense Minister Shoigu. They have talked multiple times. There's also contacts and talks going on at lower levels. And I think these are the kinds of things that could lead to greater talks at higher levels at some time down the future. But I think the disagreement is when does that time come? When is it most appropriate?
Since this guy like to quote Putin, I'll be quicker. We can finish the segment soon. Since this guy like to quote Putin, why doesn't he quote Putin when he says he would end this war if they promise not to expand NATO to Ukraine? If they go back to he said it very early on in the war. I could literally do a whole stream break down every single lie he says here. Like almost every other sentence, CJ, he is a lie in some way. But just for the sake of time, I got picked ones out with the book. Like, everything he says is either a lie or half true. He quotes Putin, but Putin been very open in the beginning of this war. Things have changed. Putin said after the West and NATO resistance, after them killing so many Eastern Ukrainians, that you guys have to acknowledge Russian new territory or this war not going to end. That was not always their position. Their position was like, if you just go stop expanding NATO, implement Minsk, and have Donbass be independent, not part of Russia, independent. This is what his early ask was. Did Matt just bring that up?
Nope.
No, he brings up a lie where he said Putin said he invaded because he wanted to bring back the USSR and have Ukraine become part of Russia. You got to know in the beginning of this war, Putin said that he's okay with Zelensky remaining president. That's off the table now. Putin said that, he said that's way off the table now. But in the very beginning, he was like, "Yeah, Zelensky can even be president as long as he comes to agree with us here." So I'll end it there because I'll literally spend all day breaking out.
Because he just made up so much stuff.
Everything, like everything he said is just made up. Like that's the best way to put it. But go ahead, CJ.
So back to the Anna interview. Now they're about to talk a little bit more about Ukraine here.
Attacks from right-wing demagogues in all the usual ways we know is, if you want to really change the consensus, if you want to create a new and
issue that.
Sorry.
Absolutely. That's such a good point. I want to move on to Ukraine because this is an issue that, I'm trying to figure out where I stand because
she's trying to figure it out.
I was 100%.
This is what no theory, this is what no intellectual prowess does to you. She's trying to figure out where she should land on the issue of funding Nazis in Ukraine. Apparently that's a toss-up. Supporting NATO is a toss-up to her.
It's a toss-up.
So go ahead, continue. Wow.
All right. Oh, here we go. Right here.
% behind helping Ukraine defend itself, especially since the United States had made security commitments to Ukraine after Ukraine had given up its nuclear weapons in the 1990s. But now I'm starting to feel a little uneasy with how much military aid.
Just uneasy. Because she has this CIA plant in front of her, she has to go, it's uneasy. Not the fuck like we need to stop funding this. That's what she's doing. She's softening her language. So that tells me she knows a little bit who this guy is. She ain't being fooled.
She knows what that she knows what she's doing. And what does that even mean? You hear Kyle Kalinske say this as well. I feel uneasy about the military spending now. What do you mean now? What was the number amount that how you started looking at it sideways, Anna? Remember when Kyle was like, "Yeah, I would stop at 60 billion."
Yeah.
So you're okay with funding and sending weapons to Nazis in the tunes of billions, but then once you get to 60 billion, once you get to 61 billion, like, man, I don't know, man, I'm done with this. You guys understand that worth for Ukrainians? And I would love to see other opinions on this, but from where I come from, you should be either all in or out. So if you are like one of the people like Kyle Anna that says we need to only send 60 billion, what happens when that 60 billion is all up? Then Russia steamrolls you guys. Then all the lives you guys spent was for what? You guys see what I mean? Either you advocate for peace or you advocate for war. This half foot in, half foot out makes no sense. So what they're saying is they want Ukrainians to die. They want this conflict to go on. They want the global south to starve until they get 60 billion. And then Russia can win. So you send all these weapons to Nazis and then Russia's going to win anyway. So what's the logic in that, Anna? Either you're against funding the Nazis and you for peace, or you can go all in. I disagree with this point. You can go all in and say, yeah, I'm gonna fund them no matter what because I want Ukraine to win. Giving up halfway is arguably the most unhinged position, right? But go ahead, CJ.
But the pseudo left position is, I was for freedom for the Ukrainians in the beginning, but now because I'm a leftist, at least I'm questioning it. They're not saying stop doing it.
Yeah.
They're questioning it. So that makes them radical. I'm questioning this now. It's ridiculous. But let's play this. Let's play a little more of what she says here.
Aid is getting funneled to that effort. I'm also feeling a little uneasy about how Ukraine is feeling more comfortable with, some of these offensive attacks because it could potentially escalate the war with a nuclear power, and I don't think that would be a good thing. As a foreign policy expert, where do you
how do they
stand
plan on beating
issue?
Russia? Just I think I'll let the video play. My question is, how do they plan on beating Russia without escalating? So their theory is that we should arm Ukraine a little bit so they can beat Russia. So if Russia was put on the back foot, what would they do? They would escalate. So when they say, well, I don't feel comfortable with Ukraine doing this because it may escalate war, nigga, that is what you guys are literally cheering for. But let's continue the video. You guys see what I'm saying? But go ahead.
I don't understand. How do they not understand that continued funding is escalating the war?
Yes.
Because if the funding stopped, the wars will stop. But I don't get how they don't get that.
There's no logic.
Questions and concerns you raise are totally valid and legitimate, and I share some of them. I think, my position on this, I wrote a piece in the New Republic last June about why I think supporting the defense of Ukraine is important for the left. I got some agreement. I got some disagreement on that. But again, I appreciate all of it because I do think this is a really important kind of, discussion about principles to have for the left to have. My own view is, I think the Biden administration has set out 3 really important, goals in what they want to achieve in supporting Ukraine. One is not to be drawn into a U.S.-Russia war or a NATO-Russia war.
Oh, that already happened, baby. It's already happened.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that's too late. That's too late. So he's still trying to give the narrative that U.S. and Russia hasn't been doing this whole time. Like he's trying to still try to paint that picture, and she knows it, and she's participating in it, which is telling.
U.S. troops. President Biden took U.S. troops off the table very early on, quite rightly. The second is to assist Ukraine in defending its own territorial sovereignty. The third is to create a strategic defeat for Russia because of its invasion of another sovereign state. I think people can have really legitimate questions about, okay, how does this end? I have those questions myself. I think the administration's case, as they have said various times in public, is they want to continue to support Ukraine in retaking territory, but also to put Ukraine in the best possible position for negotiations when those negotiations become possible. And I am.
Why did they put this banner up here? The case for peace negotiations in Russia. You see the PSYOP on the screen? They're not talking about no peace negotiations, but this is to give the appearance that they are a left channel.
Yep.
Look at the banner. The banner literally is not talking about peace. I mean, the conversation is literally not even talking about peace. Get it? Never knew this guy was behind Bernie. I would have never supported Bernie, knowing this is the type of advice he was receiving. Neo claptrap.
Among those who believe that we need to continue to seek, options for a diplomatic resolution to this. But, as I see it, there is no evidence as yet that Vladimir Putin is interested in that option. He is, as far as I can see, is
Vladimir Putin is not interested in this option. When we showed the Swiss intelligence officer that was getting interviewed by Aaron Mate, and he clearly was like, yes, in February, and we know when the war started. In February, there was a peace deal on the table.
Yep.
And somebody from the UK came in and said, "Oh, nigga, you better move that shit out the way."
Yeah, I think that was Boris Johnson.
Doing no peace. Yeah, that was it. I forget who, because they switched leaders. Yes.
Yeah, you're on point.
So, but he's trying to pretend. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, and there was also rumors that Zelensky was pursuing peace around the summertime as well, and then the United States and Biden shut that down. So, once again, Matt, like I have nothing really else to say other than this guy literally just go out there and lie on behalf of the empire and clearly the Biden administration. Throughout this interview and last one, they keep saying, according to the Biden administration, according to between Bernie and Biden,
they made a good decision. I agree. That was the right decision the Biden administration made. Yeah. That's what he keeps saying.
You guys think he legitimate? Like after hearing him say the Biden administration this, Biden administration that, this guy is 100% a shill. He'll do propaganda for the Biden administration. But TYT invites him on as a neutral foreign policy advisor.
Yeah,
with no pushback.
To teach our left audience.
Let's
get all of you caught up on Ukraine with this expert.
Is interested in continuing to prosecute this war, but still. I think we should continue to look for those options and those opportunities. I think the Biden administration is looking for those opportunities.
He says the Biden administration is looking for peace. That's what he said.
They're not.
So he's coming on here, and we can end it here. It's a few seconds. I'll let it play a little more. 15 more seconds.
Outreach from the administration and contacts and conversations at various levels between the U.S. and Russia, between the U.S. Secretary of Defense and the Russian Defense Minister. Late last year, we saw the public. It was publicized that National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan had been in contact with close advisors to Putin to identify any possible opportunity to end this. But again, to repeat myself, I think as yet, Putin doesn't seem to be interested in that.
when it comes to peace negotiations, one thing that I've noticed is as the United States has been more and more willing to provide military aid to Ukraine, we've been hearing less and less from Volodymyr Zelensky that he is willing to engage in peace negotiations himself. Now, he might be willing to engage. And obviously the peace negotiations.
Oh my God, you were so close. I was literally CJ. I was about to say, holy shit, that's a decent follow-up from Anna. I was so close to saying that. And then she said, oh, well, he might though. You know she can't fully criticize Zelensky here. I was so close to saying she had a good point. Then she backtracked. But let's continue.
Some compromise, including potentially giving up some regions of Ukraine to Russia. Do you at all feel that
you see his face change in that?
Yep.
You see his face change like, no, NATO does not like that.
Regions of Ukraine to Russia.
Now,
the Ukrainian people voted for those territories via referendum. That multiple election observers found that was 100% clean, no evidence of wrongdoing. The people in those areas wanted to be Russian. The same way Russians, and the BBC did a documentary on this, they explained this. There are many Russians in those, many Ukrainians in those areas who want to be Russian. So then when it came down to vote, they became Russia. Same way with Crimea. With Crimea, there was like 75% of Crimea voted to become part of Russia. They always leave this stuff out. They would say Russia annexed Crimea. Russia took these territories. Are you guys pro-democracy or not? Like, these are divided people. These are divided countries. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, let's listen.
To engage. And obviously, the peace negotiations involve some compromise, including potentially giving up some regions of Ukraine to Russia. Do you at all feel that the military aid might be compromising Zelensky's willingness to compromise and potentially engage in those negotiations?
That was just so hard for her to ask that question to get that out.
I think you're right about Putin. But I am also worried about what our aid could potentially do, some unintended consequences of that aid when it comes to Zelensky.
I think you're right about Putin. You know what this is telling me? She knows quite clearly who this person is, and he's not left at all. That's what that's telling me.
She's trying her best to try to sound as left as possible while maintaining her access. So if she said anything that this guy may see as a tanky response, anything that's too radical, he never get in this interview again. Might lose some credibility among her social club. So she's trying to ask some questions while still repeating literally brain dead logic that doesn't make any sense. But let's continue. We can wrap up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, my own view. I mean, Zelensky. I mean, my feeling is that if Zelensky felt that he could end this war and end the killing of Ukrainians in a way that was sustainable, that would not simply lead to future conflict, he would be interested. But I also think that Zelensky, and again, I've not spoken to him, so I don't want to speak out of my experience here. But we also have to understand politically what we have seen, the actions that Russian forces have taken in these cities that they have occupied and that have been taken back, the atrocities that have been carried out. I don't need to go into details here. You've seen them. Your viewers have probably seen them. Just these are outrageous, and so for Zelensky as the president of Ukraine to be talking about seeking peace is politically difficult. Now, I think there.
Why would it be politically difficult? We can stop it here. Why would that be politically difficult? You have an opinion on that? It's politically difficult because as a battalion go kill your ass and the United States doesn't want you to do it. That makes it politically difficult. Go ahead, Nick. If you're gonna
so this statement been long just because when he says anything, like 4 sentences, there's like 10 lies in them or mistruths. Like it takes me so long to explain this stuff. For example, he said, well, Zelensky got to find a way to find peace that will be sustainable, that won't lead to further violence. Why do you guys think Putin invaded in the first place? Because Ukraine was committing violence against ethnic Russians. The Azov battalion was literally attacking and they killed and tortured people who held pro-Russian demonstrations before this war. When he's talking about Russian atrocities, I'm not denying that they happened, but there is well-documented atrocities committed by the Ukrainian forces because they will take land, they will take territory, and then they kill and torture anyone who they view to being a Russian sympathizer. So if you lived in the area where Russia took over and you started working with the Russians because you just care about you and your family, they will kill those people with being pro-Russian. But Matt Duss lies by omission.
Yes.
So when he says Zelensky can't end this conflict without more violence, that is true on the reverse end. If Putin just pulls out, like he said he wants in the other clip, what's stopping the Azov thugs from continuing their ethnic genocide of the Romani people and the ethnic Russians in Ukraine? Not a goddamn thing. So if Putin do pull out, more violence in Ukraine is going to continue until the deed is done, right? You guys see, and I'll just end there because you guys see how everything he says, if he says up, it's definitely down. If he says left, that motherfucker is definitely right. Just listen to him. Everything he says. That's why I've been ranting and screaming like a motherfucker this segment.
But he's an expert to TYT. He's an expert. And believe and understand. Think about it. Your left. Anna indicated several times she knows what this guy is, but you still bring him on as an expert to teach your left audience.
At least Democracy Now! Had the decency of having Ray McGovern on with them. So you're like,
yeah,
we're going to bring this fucker on, but we can at least have Ray here to even it out. Anna brought him on a one-on-one, knowing that she is not equipped to put back on his nonsense just to feed his propaganda to her audience. Really disgusting. I don't know how TYT people
really disgusting.
put up with it, but
any super chats we got to get out of here? I didn't
let's see. I started
let's look through a couple.
Here, I'll get one for Brian here. Thank you for the $10, Brian. Second try at a super chat. Thank you both for shedding light on these topics. And please check if you received my previous super chat. I will check right now. I don't see. Oh yeah, I see it. I don't know if we read this out loud. Thank you for the $20, Brian. Thank you both for shining a light. Shining a light on especially black politicians, as we need to hold them even more accountable. Every brother and a brother. Absolutely, I cover them a lot because I hate betrayal. Like you guys see with LCN Squad, and also because I think, like I've seen white leftists like criticize Jim Clyburn. God forbid if they criticize John Lewis, and then they immediately get smeared as a racist. They merely get deflected. That's why the Democrats hired all these people in color in high positions. So I personally, I don't think it's an obligation, but as someone who's being sold out by members of my own community, every black leftist should take a vested interest in calling out Lloyd Austin, Kareem Jean-Pierre, Eric Adams, Emmanuel Cleaver in my position. Why wouldn't you? Because they're governing us. So I don't think it's an obligation. I just think as black leftists, that should be one of our main priorities. Thank you for the $2 super sticker, Cat Terrell. Big shout out to you. Thank you for $5, Cameron. And Ash for Frost could be that his thoughts on the June 5th, 2020 Intercept story of the 2018 Pentagon War Games about Gen Z rebellion revealed by FOIA documents. If we ever get them on, I got a lot of great things to ask them about. Especially the Israel Palestine thing. I want to ask him about the Kevin McCarthy vote, what he would do if he was in charge of enforcing the vote. Oh, can you imagine the worst salad that guy is going to give when I ask that question? Next year, when Democrats take the House, which I think they will, just going based on historical trends, if they take the House and you got to vote for Hakeem Jeffries, are you going to ask? Are you going to force the vote on that? Like, imagine him trying to weasel his way out of that question. I'm going to ask. I already read this one. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss any. That's the one who gave us a shout out earlier. I think we got everyone. I apologize if I missed any other super chats. I try to star them as I see them, but our chat be banging now. I'm doing a quick scan, but I think I got them all.
I'm looking through. I'm way far back, and I don't see anything.
I think we good. I think we good.
So I think I got most of the items. So
So next week,
go ahead.
Next week, I have Max Blumenthal scheduled for Wednesday. So that's that's gonna be great. I work on a few other guests. There are a few guests that I'm not gonna say, but we had to reschedule. So I'm trying to bring it on next week. So next week is gonna be a heavy guest week, I think. Max is on Wednesday. Sabby and JB is in 30 minutes. Make sure you guys subscribe to us on Patreon to support our work, like and share. And I'll let you close this out, CJ. I'll see you guys.
Absolutely. All right, Nick. Make sure you like on your way out. We can't do what we do without you. So share, subscribe, tell your friends about us, tell your family about us. And if you're able to support, please do. Last thing, our fundraiser, raising money to pay our staff. We'll be adding on a couple of more paid staff and equipment for our citizen journalism. So if you like thumbnails like the one made today by Erin and some of the other ones that that she's made, all the thumbnails contribute to that fund. Cash App Mutual Aid Forever, and Venmo is Forever Mutual Aid. So, all right. So here is Hillary Clinton taking us out for this episode.
We have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference. Because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation, we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere. We